So last time, like, I never mentioned a word about
I don't remember stuff like that.
yesterday wearing purple, but I'm like, she's not gonna remember.
No, I wouldn't have. In fact, I already had clothes out and didn't remember. All right, class. Remember Sister Mary Elephant? Class. Now I'm aging myself. All right, good afternoon and welcome to the Board of County Commissioners. It's October 7th, 2025. To get our meeting started off today, we are going to be led in the invocation by Pastor Edward Pageant from Joy and Praise Fellowship from Beverly Hills. And following that, Shane Bryant from Nick Nichols Ford is going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. If you would, please rise.
Dear God, we come before you today in this assembly to conduct your business, the business of this great community, this county, the business that will affect our lives and the lives of others. We pray, dear God, that you give us collective wisdom and knowledge. Give our commissioners that wisdom and knowledge as well as they lead us. Give each one of us, God, a sense of unity and understanding and togetherness. May none of us, God, think of only our own things, but the things of others. And help us, dear God, today to have such a collective unity of minds that we won't just look to be right or wrong, but we'll look to what is right and try to accomplish those things. Dear God, we just ask you to bless this gathering, this assembly, this meeting. And God, may your presence be with us all. We ask this in your name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, would you do the roll call for us, please?
This is a regular meeting of the Citrus County Board of County Commissioners this 7th day of October 2025. In attendance are Chair Rebecca Bays, First Vice Chair Diana Finnegan, Second Vice Chair Janet Barrick, Commissioner Jeff Kennard, Commissioner Holly Davis, County Administrator Steve Howard, and County Attorney Denise A. Diamond Lynn.
Thank you. Mr. Howard, approval of the agenda. Do we have any additions or deletions?
Yes, we're going to pull item number E7. The developer agreement with Home Depot will be brought back at a future date. Meeting additional information, E11, the local option sales tax ordinance. Additional backup was added. The chamber survey, PowerPoint, North Florida Land Trust green printing, North Florida Land Trust conservation negotiation services, Flagler and Highlands counties, and the North Florida Land Trust PowerPoint. That's all I have. Thank you.
Board members looking for an approval of the agenda.
Motion to approve with changes as noted.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Finnegan and a second by Commissioner Davis. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Next on our agenda today will be proclamations, awards, and presentations, and we have 4 of those. Commissioners, if you would please join me at the front.
Motion to approve the proclamations.
Thank you. I have a motion by Commissioner Davis and a second by Commissioner Kennard. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
Those representing National 4-H Week, please make your way forward. Whereas October 5th, 2025 through October 11th, 2025 celebrates National 4-H Week, and whereas 4-H brings opportunity for all, young people bring their strengths and real-world influence to improve the world around them. Ensuring opportunities for all youth enriches their lives and celebrates unique contributions to our world. And whereas the message of 4-H is simple, provide opportunities for young people and their families to gain knowledge and skills to reach their full potential to improve communities and quality of life. And whereas 4-H equips youth with skills for the future while meeting with them where they are today, building a ready generation in a world of change. And whereas 4-H programs are delivered by the University of Florida Institute of Food and Agricultural Sciences, Extension in Florida's 67 counties, providing experiences for young people to learn by doing. 4-H welcomes young people of all beliefs and backgrounds, giving kids a voice to express who they are how they make their lives and communities better. And whereas expanding from its strong agricultural roots, 4-H helps young people explore the world around them and grow into productive adults by promoting healthy young development in order to give young people the capacity to act as responsible members of society and agents of change, and by understanding the complex experiences young people face in promoting high-quality youth leadership development. 4-H helps young people to meet the challenges of adolescence and successfully transition to adulthood. Now, therefore, the Board of County Commissioners of Citrus County does hereby proclaim October 5th, 2025 through October 11th, 2025 as National 4-H Week in Citrus County, Florida, executed the 7th day of October, 2025.
Thank you so much, Commissioners, for having us here today. We are eternally grateful for the wonderful community that we have for all of our 4-H members to participate in and to learn and grow in. And I have to apologize, I've got a really sore loss of throat here, but we've brought a few things with you with us today, including our year in review. And just want to invite all of you to come to any of our future events because we're always out and about in the community. And that is our focus, making Citrus County the best place that it can be for everyone. Thank you so much.
Would those representing the 100th anniversary of the Kiwanis Club of Inverness please make your way forward? Whereas the Kiwanis Club of Inverness, which is one of the oldest clubs in Florida, was organized on October 16, 1925, and chartered on December 10, 2025 by Kiwanis International, Indianapolis, Indiana, and Inverness, Florida. And whereas Kiwanis Club of Inverness, through youth model citizenship, charitable activities, and generous donations during the past 100 years, have contributed immensely to the greater good of the youth of Citrus County. In the last 15 years, we raised and donated in excess of $1 million to charitable youth-related organizations. We are proud to say that 100% of the money raised goes to the youth of Citrus County, and 100% of our members are non-paying volunteers. And whereas the members proudly espouse the virtues of charity and unity in all that we do for the youth of Citrus County, and should be recognized and praised for their history of generosity and dedication in serving the youth of our county. And now, therefore, the Board of County Commissioners of Citrus County, Florida, does hereby congratulate the members of Kiwanis Club of Inverness on its 100th anniversary in Citrus County, Florida, executed the 7th day of October, 2025.
I'm always told I talk too much, so I'll be short. Thank you for this recognition. Just wanted to say that our club continues to grow. As many of you know, civic clubs throughout the nation, Florida, all over, are shrinking in membership instead of growing. If you look, compared to me, we have some young members now that are coming in and taking over. I'm the past president for 2025. Travis Wells will be our incoming president for this new year. Just wanted to mention one of the big events we have coming up will be this Thursday, and I'm sure many of you will be there. It'll be the Boys and Girls Club Steak and Steak Night. The Kiwanis Club of Inverness, we buy the steaks, we cook the steaks, prepare all the meal, we serve it at no cost to the Boys and Girls Club. That way they receive 100% of the money that goes directly to our youth. As mentioned, over the last 15 years with our two major fundraisers, we've given over $1.2 million to the youth of Citrus County. And we look forward to continue to do that in the years to come. And we're recognizing our 100th year, as mentioned. I might not make the next 100, but look forward to continuing what we do. And again, thank you for this recognition. Thank you. Dave, you want to say a few words? Good job. Good job. Good see you, Mr. President. Good speak. I can see you this afternoon.
Would those representing Domestic Violence Awareness Month please make your way forward? Whereas home should be a place of safety, comfort, and love, yet far too many in our community, it is instead a place of fear, isolation, and harm. And whereas domestic violence affects families across Citrus County every single day, touching neighbors, coworkers, friends, and loved ones, most often in silence and without recognition. And whereas behind every statistic is a real person, one local survivor, after years of abuse, found the courage to reach out for help. With the support of Citrus Abuse Shelter Association, CASA, them and their children found safety, stability, and a new beginning. Their story reflects the resilience of so many survivors in our community and reminds us that hope and healing are possible. And whereas organizations like CASA walk beside survivors each day, providing not only shelter, but also advocacy, counseling, legal support, housing support, and the tools to rebuild lives. Last year alone, CASA provided more than 9,400 nights of safety to survivors and their children, and whereas the impact of domestic violence reaches beyond the individuals directly affected, it weakens the fabric of our community, disrupts workplaces, schools, and neighborhoods, and robs too many of their sense of peace and belonging. And whereas October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, a time when we come together as a community to shine a light on this issue, to honor survivors, to remember those whose lives were taken by violence, and to strengthen our resolve to end abuse. And now, therefore, it be resolved that the Board of County Commissioners of Citrus County, Florida, October 2025, is recognized as Domestic Violence Awareness Month in Citrus County, Florida. Be it further proclaimed that we call upon all citizens to stand united against domestic violence, to support survivors, to promote healthy and respectful relationships, and to work together to build a safer, stronger Citrus County for every family. Executed the 7th day of October, 2025.
So thank you, commissioners. Thank you again for recognizing October as Domestic Violence Awareness Month here in Citrus County. Every day, survivors in our community are making the courageous decision to seek support, safety, and to rebuild their lives. Domestic violence is not something that happens somewhere else. It's happening here in Citrus County. It affects our neighbors, our coworkers, our friends, and even our own family members. Last year, CASA provided more than 9,400 nights of safety for survivors and their children. But shelter is just the beginning. We also walk alongside survivors through counseling, legal advocacy, support groups, and prevention programs, because we know safety and healing take time. It also takes an entire community of support and resources. We say it every day, we cannot do this alone. We need every one of our partners and every one of you as community members. So today's proclamation is more than words on paper. It's an ask for action, a commitment that as a community, we will not look away. We will honor survivors, remember those lost, and commit ourselves to strengthening the support necessary to create a safer Citrus County where every person has the right to live free from violence. So let's change Domestic Violence Awareness Month here in Citrus County to Domestic Violence Action Month. On behalf of CASA and the survivors we serve, we thank you again for standing with us. And we invite you and all members of the community to join us at the 2025 Domestic Violence Step Up for Survivors Walk this October 18th. It's a chance to come together to show Citrus County does believe that safer homes equal safer communities. So the walk will take place on October 18th at Lecanto Community Park at 11 a.m. And you can check out our Facebook or our website for more information. Thank you all.
Would those representing National Service Dog Month please make your way forward? Whereas we believe in joyful, transformative power of the human canine bond and exclusivity of all citizens, and whereas the United States, 70 million adults have a disability and only 16,000 service dogs from accredited training programs exist nationwide, and the need is growing. Canine Companions create the service dog for people with physical disabilities 50 years ago in 1975, creating a new kind of support for disability. And whereas Canine Companions is a nonprofit organization that enhances the lives of people with disabilities by providing expertly trained service dogs and ongoing support to ensure quality partnerships, free of charge, and empower people with disabilities to lead life and greater independence by providing best-in-class training. ongoing follow-up services, and a deeply committed community of support. And whereas National Service Dog Month aims to educate our community about the benefits of service dogs and the laws protecting their handlers, the Citrus County Board of County Commissioners continues to work toward becoming an exclusive community in which all citizens and their trained service dogs are embraced. And now, therefore, in recognition of service dogs and the adults and children with disabilities, the Board of County Commissioners of Citrus County, Florida, proclaims the month of September 2025 as National Service Dog Month, encouraging all citizens to celebrate service dogs and be respectful of the rights to safe access in our community afforded to the adults, children, and veterans who lead more independent lives because of their assistance, as executed the 7th day of October 2025.
All right, next on our agenda is time certains, and the first one is Cooperative Lake Restoration Projects with Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission.
Carlton Hall, Public Works. So I'm here to present this cooperative lake restoration project with FWC. Today we have some funding that was set aside years ago for lake restoration, as well in years past. $1 of fishing licenses were also put aside. So currently the county has $304,920 in that lake restoration project. We also have $132,735 still in an account from the fishing license. So today we have Division of Aquatics, Habitat, Conservation, and Restoration Section. Anna Laws is here to present this project.
Thank you. Hello. I'm Anna Laws. I'm a biologist in the Aquatic Habitat Conservation and Restoration section of the Division of Habitat and Species Conservation at FWC. And I cover this region for my section. Okay, great. So my section works throughout the state on aquatic habitat restoration and enhancement projects. We do a wide variety of projects. They can be anything from wetland creation or plant revegetation, like planting eelgrass, or planting emergent vegetation along a stream bank or a lake shore. We do ephemeral wetland restoration, which focuses on improving habitat for breeding frogs and salamanders and newts. Springs restoration, which could be dredging or improving shoreline stabilization at a spring, like the Three Sisters project. Hydrologic restoration, which involves improving connectivity and flow between waterways using low water crossings or culverts. And we also do a number of coastal wetlands projects like salt marsh restoration or oyster reef restoration. And then one of the main types of projects that we do throughout the state is lake restoration. Our lakes can form these dense floating mats of mud with vegetation on top, which we call floating tussocks. These tussocks naturally occurring, however, they can grow a lot in some areas and cause detrimental impacts to habitat. They reduce light to the bottom of the lake. They can reduce the growth of vegetation, reduce dissolved oxygen content, which makes fish habitat not great because fish need high levels of oxygen content. And they can cause the rooted vegetation on the lake bottom to become uprooted as they move around because they are mobile. So we often will hire contractors to come to an area that has a little bit too much tussock coverage and come in, and the contractor will use what's called a floating aquatic harvester boat to remove that material, that mud material and floating vegetation material. And they will dispose of it in an upland disposal site or a site within a lake. And that allows the area to become cleared up, native vegetation start growing back from the lake bottom, light to penetrate, and dissolved oxygen to increase. So our fish and wildlife habitat is improved, and also recreational opportunities can also be improved. So I am working on a lake restoration project in the Lake Hernando, in the Hernando Pool of the Salapopka Range. This area has about 20 to 25 acres of floating tussock, and we would like to remove about 10 acres of that tussock. It's in the northeast corner of the lake. And this is some photographs showing what the project site looks like right now, showing what that floating tussock with mud and vegetation growing on top looks like. And again, this is all floating material that kind of moves around a little bit, and it's not rooted to the bottom. So FWC Aquatic Habitat Restoration Section has allocated $150,000 for this project this year to do aquatic harvesting of 10 acres. That comes from the state's general revenue funds. The average cost in the Salapopka Range to harvest an acre of tussock is about $15,000. So 10 acres would be about $150,000. We would like to partner with Citrus County Aquatics and for Citrus County Aquatics to harvest an additional 3 acres at that project site. So that would come out to about $45,000 a project. And we would like to continue to partner in the future with Citrus County Aquatics on other projects that we consider priority throughout the lake chain. Some of those projects that we have an eye on, there's an area, Lake Spivey, that could maybe use some tussock harvesting. We also have, there's other divisions and sections with FWC that are interested in partnering with Citrus County Aquatics, like our Division of Freshwater Fisheries that sometimes do fish attractor work on the lake and things like that. So we would like to ask the county to encumber all of the money in their lake restoration fund so that we can do the project work this year, but also continue to partner with Citrus County Aquatics in the future. Thank you.
So as Anna mentioned, we're not only looking for this approval for $45,000 to help them with this project, but also those funds that have been in that account gaining interest, we would like to be able to in the future partner with them as the projects arise and as they identify the most important restorations to be done on the lake.
I have a couple questions.
Sure.
Anna, is that right? Anna, you said that there's about 25 acres and you're going to do 10 acres. If there's 25 acres and you're going to do 10 and you're looking to do maybe another 3 acres in partnership with the county, explain why we wouldn't do all 25 and how that affects the actual overall health. I mean, it seems like we're half in, half out.
Well, it's a pretty dynamic system. So I went out there a year ago and it was probably closer to about 15 to 20 acres, and it's grown in the past year. And as you might know, the lake levels are down significantly this year. So it's a type of project where we do what we call adaptive management. We'll come in and maybe harvest about 10 acres of tussock, and the county will come behind and work together with us on that. And then we'll monitor the site and see if what our work that we've done there is what we think is sufficient, opening up the water to light penetration and allowing the vegetation to grow back from the bottom. And we might, see that we need to come back in and do additional work, which is part of the reason why we would like to go ahead and ask to encumber additional funds so that we can work together with the county on these projects moving forward as well.
So I think you're speaking exactly to my point. If you said a year ago there were 10, 15 acres and now there's 25.
So, yeah, another thing that I should say is that these tussocks are mobile. They move around a lot. Some of them are very large and some of them are, a lot smaller. So it's sometimes could be hard to chase around some of those smaller tussocks, and it might not be, provide quite as much what we call ecological lift for that project, or for harvesting that one little small area. So we're focusing on harvesting some of the larger tussocks, getting at least 10 to 15 acres, and then monitoring the site and potentially harvesting more if needed.
Okay.
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Davis?
have you been in contact with Too Far and what they're, you're aware of what Too Far is working on? Okay, because their position is that the sediment also needs to be removed to improve the health of the fisheries there.
Yeah, so Too Far is aware of this project, yeah. I think Bob is here,
Right
yes.
there.
And yeah, I'll send you an email later, Bob. But yeah, it really depends on the area. Some of the areas where we're looking at harvesting is actually sand bottom right now. If you look under there. So generally, though, when we harvest a tussock, we're harvesting about 8 feet deep, and that gets all of the floating mud that's on top. And I don't know, Dan, do you have anything else to say? This is my supervisor, Dan Coulterman.
And this is the same project that I talked to Chris Wynn about? Okay.
Yeah, so these lakes are pretty unique. Water control structures, divert water throughout the chain of lakes. And when you stabilize the water levels, you get organic muck buildup in places. And some of these lakes have tremendous muck buildup in areas, whereas other areas, they don't really have as much. But the idea is to harvest the floating tussocks in the general project site to improve fish and wildlife habitat, which you remove that blanket like Anna described, you get light penetration and oxygen down there, and you get rooted plants to recolonize. And there could be submerged aquatic vegetation or just rooted emergent plants like lily pads, which provide really good fish and wildlife habitat. You can open those areas up, and a secondary benefit to the work that we do is you can now get access into those areas where you couldn't get access before, which opens up opportunities for fishing and hunting. Some of these areas are historic, good waterfowl hunting locations as well as fishing locations, and so providing those opportunities back to the public is one of our main targets as well.
Commissioner Finnegan?
Carlton, I'm going to support the project. I just want to make sure on the second part of it, we're encumbering money for the future. Is that just for Lake Hernando, or will that stretch out into Inverness and all the Lake Salapopka chain of lakes?
I guess the projects would be identified by FWC, and it would be the entire chain of lakes, so.
And then if we allow us to encumber the money each time there's a new project, would it come back before the board?
We're asking for approval to move forward with allocating funds in a proportionate measure as we are today with FWC in the future without having to come back to the board. And really the funds that you see in that account aren't being added to. So that's the money that we have. So we're just looking to expend those funds. They've been sitting there for a while. They are gaining interest, but we're looking to go ahead and get some projects underway.
Okay,
Right.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Commissioner Barrick?
I looked at this and it says 150,000 for, FWC. That's for the 25-26 budget year for the state. Can you tell me that you're going to get 150,000 next year? Because you're not encumbering anything from the state, but you're encumbering ours. So you're going to take the 45 if we give it to you, and then you're going to have us sit the rest of our money in an account, and then as you need it, you're going to take it. But who says the state is going to keep coming up with 150,000? Right now, you've got 25 acres you really need to do, but you're going to do 13, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so that leaves 12 that we're starting with for next year for 26, 27. So that's going to take at least 150,000 plus. Okay, that's if the state gives 150,000, and then plus ours. I don't mind a 45,000 this year, but I think that we need to hold on to ours, and you need to come back every year and explain how much you're doing, because I'd like to know, what's going on a yearly basis. In other words, I don't want to just give money and with no strings attached. That's not, and 45,000 is not a small amount of money.
Correct.
But I can see a lot of merit in getting this done as soon as you can. And if it's going to cost more than 45, then I'd like to see you come back and say, well, we did the 3, but we still need to do a little bit more. It's going to maybe cost another 10. Come back for the 10 and get it done properly. Thank you.
Okay.
Madam Chair, Commissioner Kennard.
I'd make a motion that we approve the 45,000 to partner with FWC on this project, as well as encumber the remaining balances of the 2 accounts to allow staff to move forward with further partnership projects on our lakes.
Second.
I have A and B.
A and B.
I have a motion by Commissioner Kennard and a second by Commissioner Davis. Is there any public input?
My name is Skada Bob Rudemiller. I reside in Floral City. I'm presenting as an individual, requesting 3 minutes. I believe the county participating financially in the lake restoration project is very commendable, and I fully support it. For the benefit of Citrus County, but also especially the TACL, the Chain of Lakes. According to the terms of the finances, this project, it should be noted, and I quote, "The fishing license funds can only be used on projects that improve fish habitat." Let's concentrate on that. Improve fish habitat. It is proposed that the work described by the FWC will be, and I quote, "vegetation management and mechanical harvesting of tussocks floating islands to improve habitat and recreational opportunities." There's no mention of removing the thick, soft sediment at the bottom of the lake. Very significant. Now, maybe it is, and maybe I'm mistaken, and maybe everything I say here is just educational. But it's extremely important that this project includes removing the thick sediment on the bottom. Mechanical harvesters have the ability to remove the surface plant material, such as tussocks, but also has the ability to remove underwater plant materials, including detritus and other sediments, including muck. It is the depth of the removal of plant material which are significant and important related to fish habitat. That's the key operating. The floating tussocks are a nuisance to navigation and recreational, but the key thing for improving fish habitat is the removal of the sediment on the bottom. Most of the desired species in the TACL is the Florida bass. The Florida bass has several requirements in order to successfully propagate or spawn. Bass need firm sand, gravel, or clay to build nests. Bass won't spawn if the bottom is too soft or silty, as found in the detrital material. Vegetation should not be too dense or decaying. There should be adequate oxygen in the water. Bass are visually oriented swimmers. This is very important. They're visually oriented. They need light. So taking away the tussocks will provide more light to the bottom. The male uses vision to select nesting sites, build nests, and court females. The females use the light to find out where they're laying eggs. Mechanical harvesters can achieve all of this and maintain all of this. They can remove detritus and other sediments, removing anoxic materials and increasing oxygen concentration, and so much more. You have the balance of my presentation, but I highly, highly recommend that you include in the scope of work, if it's not already there, it sounds like it partially is, of removing the sediment at the bottom of the lake. It's extremely important. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Anyone else? Seeing none, we'll close open to the public. Board, is there any further comments?
Yeah.
Commissioner Barrick?
I do not see giving somebody our checkbook. I would like to see a yearly, if they need more money, they come back. I'm not saying we're gonna take the money and put it somewhere else, because we can't. But I'd like to see what's going on a yearly basis, and I'd like them to be accountable for it. So I can't agree with encumbering the balance of the money.
Board, seeing no further comment, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries 4-1. Thank you. Next on our agenda today is the update on Fort Island Trail boat ramp and park. Welcome, Mr. Head.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Eric
Good
Head,
afternoon.
Community Services Director. I'd like to get started. Today we're here to seek some updated direction from the board on the potential for expanding capacity at the Fort Island Trail Park and Boat Ramp Facility. I'll give an overview on that location in just a moment. The project was first before you back in October of 2023. It was originally presented by Mr. Frank, former council member at the City of Crystal River. And it correlates with City of Crystal River is preparing to finish their Kings Bay River Walk. I do believe they're waiting for Army Corps to complete their permitting process. According to the city manager, Ms. Kurtz, they're likely to complete that late spring, early summer of next year. Part of that includes the closing of the Northwest 3rd Avenue boat ramp, which is right on Kings Bay. And that started this conversation back a couple of years ago with how could that capacity be met in other places. I know that Crystal River did work with a number of other sites trying to find another place for a boat ramp or seeking that capacity. And they had even reached out to a state park location, and that also did not pan out. So that's the reason that Fort Island Trail entered into the options. Fort Island Trail Park, if you've been out there on a busy weekend, it's already beyond capacity, and it does need increased parking to accommodate just the sheer volume of boat trailer traffic, especially on holiday weekends, scallop season, et cetera. You know, we're all aware of the seasonal demands put on all of our Gulf access ramps, and that continues to increase. Parking for boat trailers basically fills the right-of-way once the park is full. This happens at most of our Gulf access ramps. Right away on both sides of the road, you can get taken up with boat trailer parking. Now, originally, the city had planned to take the lead and pursue the grants needed to pursue on the county's behalf, the grants in a partnership with us. At the time, the board gave direction to establish an MOU working with the city to pursue those grant options. And that partnership never materialized due to a change in leadership that the city was also hit with, hurricane, tornado, and some other things. So since then, this project really hasn't moved forward. So just a little, for those of you that haven't been out there, the location, Fort Island Trail Boat Ramp, often referred to as the halfway ramp. And you can see on the map the red pin drop. That is where it's located, halfway out, Fort Island Trail. And of course, you see Fort Island Beach off to the far west left, that gray dot on the corner there. And that's a photo of the two boat ramps themselves. They're dual ramps, so they can take 4 boats at a time. That's an aerial view of the full park property. You can see 44 to the west. That's Fort Island Trail, to the right. And then you see the entrance drive for the park. That's just a close-up shot. This is, you can see an outlined in green. That's the full park area. You can see the 2 ramps that are just to the left of center with the trailer parking, the current trailer parking to the right. And the primary area that we're focused on for additional trailer parking is in this underdeveloped area here inside the red box. Currently, vehicles and boat trailers already utilize this space as an overflow. It's not an organized or structured area. But once that's full, it spills out onto both sides of the entrance drive and especially onto the right-of-way of Fort Island Trail. You see that area to the left? That is the existing park area. That's standard vehicle parking only. It's got pavilions, and you see the fishing pier. course, a key factor in determining the capacity, what we could put there is if this circled in green, you can't see it, but through the treetops, you can see as a man-made ditch, a canal. If that's able to be partially filled in, it would allow for better utilization of all that entire area within the red box. There are a number of unknowns, which is why we need a feasibility study to determine just exactly what we can do on this site. There are those grants that I referred to earlier. They are the same grants that were presented 2 years ago. They are still available, and they go through annual grant cycles. The design and permitting, that is the Florida Boat Improvement Program grant, that would provide 100% of the funding for the design and permitting only. But before we could put a grant proposal together, we certainly need to identify what is possible at that site, which is why the feasibility studies needed to determine just what we're allowed and what we're capable to put on that site. For example, we're likely to require a NEPA study if we move forward with the construction grant, which is the second one you see there. That's the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Sport Fish Restoration Grant. As one of those would likely require a NEPA study, or it would require a NEPA study. That's the National Environmental Policy Act. We've had to do those before, specifically Fort Island Gulf Beach, before we could move forward in that area. And what is the total capacity for the site? We don't have that, including possibly 2 or 3 conceptual plans of what could be done on this site with a full build-out. It could be possibly a phased construction build-out, depending upon total cost, with an emphasis primarily on expanding the boat trailer parking. And then it could be broken down into cost estimates for each phase. And we would continue to seek other grant opportunities as needed. So basically, we're here today to ask for moving forward with to conduct a feasibility study and determine what is permissible on the site, as well as the capacity. That study would be impact fee eligible. So in our recommended action, we're saying to provide staff direction on the pursuit of the feasibility study, to include the preliminary concept plans for a full build-out on the site at the Fort Island Trail Park facility. And we anticipate that to be approximately $50,000, which would come from impact fees if you approve. Questions?
Madam Chair?
Commissioner Kennard.
Board members, I hope that we can all agree that that this is an important project, not only for the city, but I would say more so for the county. Yes, Mr. Frank came to the board previously, offered for the city of Crystal River to take the lead on pursuing the grant funding for design and engineering. Obviously, it's on county property, so the county was going to have to partner in that. That didn't work out, as Mr. Head explained. They've had a change of personnel, and they've had a few other priorities that Mother Nature has delivered them since then. Anyway, this ramp is very used. It is it's a parking issue more weekends than not, particularly during the summertime. It's a problem getting boats launched there. And I would suggest that this project in particular, time is of the essence. Once they close, once the city closes that boat ramp in the city limits, it's not definitive, but it's believed that there may be a time frame where they need to use that boat ramp credit within the manatee protection zone, or they lose it. Okay, I've never gotten a clear answer on whether or not they get a year to build that or 3 years to build it, and then if it's not utilized, then they lose it. And that's a slip that we don't want to lose over on the west side. So I would suggest we've got nearly $800,000 in boat launch fees that have been collected. And those fees were specifically for ramp improvements, launch improvements. This is right in the wheelhouse of projects that money should be used for. It's widely believed that man-made ditch, that Swift Mud would be agreeable to allowing that to be filled in. And I've heard as much as possibly doubling the parking out there, which would be phenomenal. If we could double the parking and add another slip out there, that would be a big hit, not only for the county, like I said, but for the city as well. So I hope that, I hope the board will agree to give staff direction to take the lead on this thing, and let's get it moving. This thing's been sitting, project's been sitting dormant now for a couple of years. Let's see if we can get some legs to this thing.
Commissioner Finnegan.
I'm glad you said an extra slip. I plan on supporting the project, but I keep hearing about the parking. I don't remember, and I wanted to ask, instead of filling in that ditch, could we make an extra slip? But where is the extra slip going to go?
That's what we need, the feasibility study with the concepts, because they would come
Yes.
back with 2 or 3 concepts of where that could be fit into that existing site. Looking at the entire site, not just
That was going to
boat
be my
ramp parking.
question. Why aren't we talking about extra slips if that's feasible? But the extra slips, in addition to extra parking, I think is very much needed. Thank you.
We're gonna have one drop right in our lap once they close that one in Crystal River.
Commissioner Barrick.
I like the idea, okay? I don't like using impact fees. If we have boat launch fees that are collected, and that's what they were collected for, if you want to do a feasibility study, I would say we use the boat launch fees to do your feasibility. If you're telling me it's only 50,000 and we've got 800,000 in there or whatever, I mean, there's no reason not to use the money for what it was collected for. Impact fees are for additional adding on to parks. I would like to see this come to fruition and get the boat slips done, get the parking done. We do need it. And it's a good, very, very good project. So, you know, other than the fact, I'd like to see it come from boat launch fees.
I would have to review the actual ordinance. The ordinance was very specific on what the boat launch fees could be used for. It was for improvements, but I don't know. I would have to defer to legal to look at that language. If there's anything in there, I haven't looked at it. I
But
could
the
go
money
back and
that's
look.
collected, isn't it from the people that are
Correct.
out there boating?
Correct.
And that's what this was for.
Sure.
They paid the extra, so, and it's for a project for them.
Yeah.
It's not a project for me, because I don't have a boat. But anybody that has a boat and uses that, they've been paying this, and they expect us to use the money we've collected.
Oh, yes, I would agree. I just need to make sure that we are permissible by the specific language of that ordinance, that we can use it for a study.
Well, then I wouldn't agree to go with impact fees until you come back and let me know, can you use the boat launch fees? And if you can, then I'll be 100% for it.
I can get that answer probably fairly shortly.
Thank you, Eric. Here's my angst with this. Not that I'm gauging it on a good project, a bad project, but since I've been back on this board, what I have been asking for in these agenda memorandums, we have a piece in here that says strategic planning element, budget impact and funding source. At the very minimum, what could be put in here is we could be talking about the impacts of the parking that's out there, what it would need to be. I'm pretty sure we got somebody on staff now that could do a best case, worst case of telling us what could or couldn't happen out there to implement that. My concern is if we get here and we need a 25% match, what's that 25% match? And if $800,000 doesn't cover it, where does it come from? And it's not only just this boat ramp or this parking out here. We own Fort Island Trail Road. We can't take care of what we've got now. And if we have all this extra traffic, double the boat trailers going in and out there, what does that do and what's that impact? And I'm not trying to be ugly, but if we take our average home price and the dollar bill in the unincorporated area, and we're collecting $1,080 for all the unincorporated area, and the city of Crystal River is 700 and plus something, and Inverness is 900, and then you take population, and I guarantee you they're collecting more in property tax on a lot of cases over there than we are because of the value of the homes going in. This is something that I feel like they need to come to the table. They need to share in this. This isn't strictly a county issue just because we own the land. They made a conscious decision to close a boat ramp, and now we're carrying the burden. So without a little more detail in this, I can't support it.
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Kennard.
while I appreciate you thinking outside the box or a little further down the line on this stuff, this is a project that the county needs to do at this ramp, regardless if they close that ramp or not. This ramp is overcrowded. I'm not gonna say all the time, but frequently. They're parked up and down our road on the right of way. And Crystal River still has their ramp open. We need to do this project. We've been collecting money to do this type of project. You can see there's grant money that's out there. I would strongly encourage you, all we're looking for right now is direction to do the feasibility study. Feasibility study is gonna come back and tell us what we're capable of doing out there, what our options are at that point.
And with all due respect, I understand the feasibility study, but my concern is that we spend money on a feasibility study that becomes unfeasible and it sits on a shelf and collects dust. And I'm pretty sure that there's been another boat ramp at the barge canal that I think would be better served to put all of our resources and assets in than to try to pick this particular one. I feel like if we're looking at the barge canal, that should be our focus. This shouldn't be our priority.
The barge canal boat ramp is years away, years. We're overcrowded now, and we've been collecting from our boaters every weekend.
Anyone else? Commissioner Finnegan?
Motion to approve H2.
I have a motion by Commissioner Finnegan
Second.
and a second by Commissioner Kennard. Is there any public input?
Chair,
Yes.
if we can get clarification of that motion, because it says provide direction, so we need direction in that motion.
Commissioner Finnegan?
Sure, I will make a motion to approve to put funds towards the feasibility study, to include a preliminary concept plans for a full build-out on the site at Fort Island Trail Park facility to include expanded parking and additional boat ramps.
And I will amend my second.
Thank you. I got open to the public. Good afternoon.
Hi, I'm Renee Bedford from Floral City. I just wanted to say, if you're going to put funds anywhere, put it towards building industry, the barge canal. Crystal River, that's for fun, not near a necessity right now. We need to cut the fat. We're drowning here. Barge canal, that's where the focus needs to be. Industry, build the economy.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, board members, Josh Wood, CEO of the Citrus County Chamber of Commerce. I just want to let y'all know that this is a top priority and has been for a couple of years of the Bristol River Area Council of the Chamber of Commerce. And we have a massive problem over there that's, we keep inviting tourists to the area, but we're not putting in the infrastructure, and we don't have the infrastructure for our residents either. I see Chair's point of, I know you like other entities to have skin in the game. I have no objection to that, but I don't think you can start developing your partnerships until the feasibility study. So we would hope that y'all would, that the motion on the floor is affirmative.
Anyone else from the public?
Madam Chair.
Seeing none, I'll close over to the public. Commissioner Davis?
Where were we with the boat ramp at Fort Island Beach at the end of the line? Did we not, I think it was in 21?
Yes.
Look at dramatically expanding the parking and building another ramp there?
We are in progress with a grant right now.
Okay.
And that grant We did have a NEPA study done on that site where the boat ramp expansion parking was to go cannot be done. They won't allow us to put anything in that. There's artifacts, there's ancient remains, there's other wetlands issues. The only parking expansion we can do there will be along the entrance area where we're going to add just standard vehicle parking for the beach. As you go further down, we can't add any more boat ramp parking. We might be able to squeeze maybe 2 or 3 additional boat ramps on trailer parking there on the edge towards the ramp, but that's about all we get down there. So we're basically built out down there once that grant is completed. I did get clarification, Chair, on we cannot, based on the way the ordinance is worded, we cannot use boat launch fee funding for a study. That would have to come from impact fees.
I have one other question for my colleague at the other end, is the resident fishing expert, just for my own curiosity. I grew up, I was fortunate enough to grow up on the river, so I did very little trailering ever with a boat. So where are people going when they're going, but I'm very familiar, obviously, with both the Crystal and Salt Rivers. Where are people going when they're putting in at the midpoint? Are they going out to the Gulf, I assume?
For the most part, yes. Yeah, that's a deeper water, I don't want to say a deep water launch, but it's a deeper water launch where you can launch larger size boats, boats that require more draft. The ramp out on the very end is perfect for skinny water boats, shallow water stuff, staying inshore.
That makes total sense.
Any boats of any size or any draft, it's treacherous to try and make it happen out at the end.
Okay. All my questions have been answered. I'll be supporting it.
Great, thank you.
Commissioner Finnegan? Just something else, nothing? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries 3-2. It was Barrick and myself, as nays.
Okay, thank you.
Next on our agenda is the consent agenda.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
I have a motion by Commissioner Davis and a second by Commissioner Kennard. Do we have any public input on the consent agenda?
I just have a comment.
Commissioner Finnegan.
I just want to point out all the connection charges with the lien agreements, and it's basically $3,000, just shy of that people have to put on their taxes for 10 years. So my work and fight and the Ken's department's doing a great job trying to redo the way we do these grants. I mean, people are paying for this amount of money with 6% interest and putting it on their taxes because I'm assuming they can't afford to put it up front, in addition to all the other costs for these septic to sewer projects. So please keep that on the forefronts of your minds. We have to help people when we do these really great projects. They're great, but it's not great at the end of the day for certain people when they cannot afford these fees. So every time I see this board, I hope you just indulge me. Let me point this out just to keep it at the forefront of your minds. We have to do better with our grant money. And when we're advocating in Tallahassee to try to keep these charges as low as possible for our constituents. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Sure. Any further board comment? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0 at the moment. Next on our agenda is open to the public. This is our first open to the public. Anyone wishing to address the board, please come forward. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I'm Mark Sveska. I live at 3633 North Wagon Point in Pine Ridge. I'm here to represent the 11,000 residents of our community. I have a letter on file.
Mark, I apologize. I was notified earlier today that the clerk has reached out many times on that letter to the file and no one has responded.
I will fix that.
Okay.
You want me to give
So
you 5?
May I have 5 minutes or do I have 3?
You have 3. They said they've given
No
it
worries.
multiple opportunities.
No worries. Thank you. I want to direct your attention to agenda item E11, the lost ordinance discussion. There's a little bit of a sense of humor there, but nobody understands the seriousness of spending the people's money more so than the county commissioners. If you recall the amount of time we spent in the audience and the countless hours that you spent and the staff spent squeezing and scraping and clawing money in the budget that we just passed for things like public safety and funding our roads. And in fact, some of the comments that we got from the county commissioners was, we don't know how we're going to make up the difference in funding roads. And then we turn around and look at this 23-member recommendation for permitted use for the lost funding. And it gives us a little bit of pause. Is it really needed, or are these nice to have items? We would expect a rule set that looks something like absolutely required by law. Yeah, you know, those mandates, we funded the mandates, it hurt, and you're going to see more in the future. It's just the nature of government. Is it required for essential or directly related to public safety? Yeah, we can understand that spending on that. We can see that bringing existing infrastructure up to a minimum level of service, yes, we can see that. If you save money in the near term, you can demonstrate that, not esoterically, but in black and white, yeah. But we see a lot of the items in this list, and this is page 692 of 786 of the agenda packet that was available to the public. Construction of new infrastructure. Why would we build new infrastructure if we can't maintain the infrastructure that we have right now at a minimum level of standard? Reconstruction or improvement of existing infrastructure. Does that mean roads? If yes, that's a great idea. But just new stuff always gives us a little bit of pause. Infrastructure-related land improvement, design, engineering inputs. For what? We can't keep our roads in a satisfactory level of condition. Going on down, providing energy-efficient loans, grants, and rebates. We've raised taxes. The amount of money we spend on taxes, we raise the assessment. This next one comes in and we're going to have people, instead of focusing on the infrastructure, we're going to have money going towards people or organizations doing that. Improving private facilities that may be used free of charge as emergency shelter. Sounds like a really good idea, but what guarantee would we have if it changes ownership that that money invested in those facilities is continued into the future? Thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Curtis Bryant, Lecanto. A couple things here. Number one, what's the status on Betts Farm? I know that there's an application that they put on hold, all those things. If I remember that correctly, April 24, this board voted to allow an amendment to the contract that said they can basically withhold this for as long as they want to. The comments at the time, when that point was raised, said that developers want to develop, they're going to do this within months, and here we are 18 months later and no movement on Betts Farm. Going forward, we're going to talk about conservation, things like that with the sales tax. This seems to me like a really good opportunity to keep some of our lands available for conservation and for purposes of that, rather than using tax dollars to expand conservation if we sell Betts Farm. So my question to you guys is this contract able to be canceled? I understand there's terms and things like that regarding closing dates and due diligence and all of that. So I implore you guys to consider that option, because we're going on 18 months now of nothing. Metro forecasting, where are we at on the metro forecasting, the second phase of their study? First phase showed the need for commercial areas, things like that. Second phase was supposed to be recreation, parks, fire, stuff like that. You guys are gonna be talking today about the sales tax and uses for that, but we don't know what Metro is going to bring to the table for the second phase. So I'm asking you guys to get updates on the second phase, and to have the discussion for the sales tax with that. Talking about the sales tax, and I'll come back up when that comes up. But basically, there's a need for more information. You guys don't have enough data to make that determination today. So what I'd like you guys to do with that is to get more information, do some more research, do more due diligence on that before you guys decide on that. But I look forward to that discussion here in a bit. Thank you.
Thank you.
Renee Bedford, Floral City. I've only got 3 minutes and I'm got to go to work. First, the tourism has been the focus for this county for a long time, and guess what? It's not paying the bills. Change the focus. Build the industry, economy. And another thing is the sales tax. I have to address it now because I can't wait for it to come up. I propose a 1% surtax on alcohol sales instead of sales tax. And don't say it can't be done. I've done my research. It can be, and other counties have done it. This gives the freedom of choice back to the people of Citrus County. The process is the same as what we're doing here today. The board has to put it on the ballot, and then everybody votes for it. It could bring $50 million into this county. I've done the math. I've done the research. I went as far as to speak to liquor store owners. It was unanimous as long as the funds were allocated back into the community. That's pretty much all I have to say. And now I got to go to work.
Have a great day at work.
I just couldn't stay away. My name's Tony Ayo. I'm here for the Stop the Sand Mine Committee out of Pine Ridge Estates. Okay, here's a prepared letter. I'm here to speak about the resolutions that this board adopted on September 23rd, resolutions 2025-070, also 071 and 072, which authorize county staff to sign permitted related documents with FDOT, SwiftMud, and DEP. These were adopted with no public discussion or authorization to authorize staff to execute any application for permits and all instruments in connection therewith without the county seal, without public vote. Since then, our committee has sent 3 formal emails to the county requesting legal clarification of the scope and the limits of this language. We have not received any response as of our last time we sent you an email. However, the individuals have received informal replies, such as County Commissioner Finnegan wrote, "Of course, the county can only submit application for county property." The county attorney, Ms. Lynn, replied to the County Commissioner Finnegan, confirming that interpretation, and the county administrator, Steve Howard, forwarded a message saying the county has no authority to apply for a permit to do work on others' properties. On another's property, such as the DOT's property, because the county is not the owner. That may be the intent, but there is a problem. Nothing in the actual resolution says there is no reference to county-owned property, no restriction to internal or routine projects, no safeguards against applying the resolution to outside agency permits, and no prohibition against signing documents related to the controversial or pending land use decisions. This matters because the Crystal River Borrow Pit sand mine is a pending project and may involve FDOT and SwiftMud coordination, yet it has not received county land use approval. If the county staff were to sign anything related to that project under these resolutions, even inadvertently, it could give outside agencies the impression that the county's participation or endorsing the ERP. This is not just our concern. The Sierra Club has now publicly objected, calling this a bypass of public oversight and government in the shade. WWALS, Watershed Coalition, has raised flags in their October newsletter pointing out directly that this ERP urging residents to seek answers. We appreciate your help. Please help us. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public? Seeing none, I'm going to close open to the public.
Consent agenda, aye. I was out of the room for the consent agenda.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right. If there's nothing else, we'll move on to, would you all like to indulge the city of Inverness and move up E10?
Sounds like a great idea.
All right. We are going to bring up E10 at this moment, which is the letter of support for city of Inverness.
Good afternoon. We're traveling with a squad today. We've got Mayor Bob Playstead, Councilman Tom Craig, Councilwoman Crystal Azanich, and Council President Gene Davis.
What's the glam squad?
Yes, just don't call us late for dinner. That's really what most we care about. We have submitted to you all our legislative priorities letter, and it outlines a number, I think, of general items that I think mutually we all support, and things in clean water, affordable housing, transportation, investment by the state and our community. There's 3 specific appropriation projects that we have been placed in that. They all deal with Whispering Pines Park. One is a repeat from last year, which is a look for us to do an RV-type campground similar to a state park camping facility. To give you a little background, the city has been working with the state extensively to change its relationship with how we lease the facility. Today, we're in a sublease with forestry, which kind of put us in a longstanding, multi-decade circumstance of management where, quite candidly, we're subleasing from forestry and their management objectives, which are managing it for forest lands. However, as you all know, that park has been in a recreation facility for many years, more akin to something like a state park or an open space recreation facility. So the state has offered to us to pursue a 50-year lease as a direct lessee, akin to like what a state agency would be to the state land trust. So we are working towards that. Inside of that, and then the conversations we've had with them, is the approach to bringing about some opportunities akin to what the state does with their own lands when they manage them, such as something like an RV campground that you would see in a state park, like maybe Manatee Springs, something similar to that. So that is in there as an appropriation request similar to our last year. Also is a request to update the remainder of the boundary fencing at the park, which was installed by the Rotary Club back in the 70s. It's tired and needs to be replaced. They did do a part of that fencing as the highway widening project, but there's 3 other sides that need to be fixed. And then additionally, a project that we had held off on submitting last year, we had submitted a number of years. It actually got funded a number of years, but caught the veto pen, which was the West Inverness Trail, which connects the Withlacoochee State Trail back to Forest Drive and Whispering Pines Park, and now what would be the trails that were expanded as part of the highway widening. Those are the 3 specific things that are not general tonal elements in that letter that we would ask for you all's support. And we're here to answer any questions or provide any information that might be needed.
Commissioner Finnegan?
Well, I'll just reiterate from last year, Eric, I would support 2 out of the 3. People often think that to come to me as a commissioner for things that happen in the city of Inverness, and I always say, go tell the Inverness City Council or Eric Williams. Every single person that mentions the camping at the park hates the idea. I have not heard anyone, honestly, but you, that likes the idea. I'm so tied to that park. I have wonderful childhood memories there. I have wonderful memories of raising my son and other kids that I would like to think were my children at that park, being team mom at that park. I just do not see any way that camping is appropriate there or something that you should move forward with. I understand your thoughts about it, and I respect you thinking out of the box and looking for ways to maintain the park. I cannot get behind that. I'm sorry. Your other 2, yes, absolutely.
We'll still be behind your appropriation request for Chazawiska Campground. But I understand, and there are people that
At
do.
Chazawiska, we're not having
it.
all of our kids around the county going there and then other people just parking in the back of it. I think that's a little bit different, Eric. Don't
Well,
think your correlation works out.
Arguably, I don't think so. I think there's lots of children and families, as you all stated historically, that is an activity that people do on open lands. And the acreage you're talking about at Chazawiska is nearly 10% of the totality of Whispering Pines. Most state park facilities enjoy much open space and camping and things of that nature. And there's a number of facilities like this around the state and the country that enjoy that opportunity. It will help drive an economic engine, not just for the park itself, but bringing folks to our area.
Sometimes parks just need to be parks, Eric, and let the kids and families that live here enjoy the park.
Well, it's not my decision, it's the city council's decision. So they're all here. I'm sure they will be happy to address any of it if they wish to speak to it.
I'd like to say something, not as a council person, but as the mayor. What experience do you have in camping? Motorhomes? Travel trailer? Commissioner Finnegan?
Yes, sir.
What experience do you have in camping?
I don't, camping for me is more like a Marriott.
Okay. Well, for many of us that go camping and do that, I have a motorhome now, and I've been camping with travel trailers and so on for years. And you meet the nicest people there. They're good people. They're helpful people. They look out for other people. And this would be a fine park for them to come to, not only for the amenities surrounding with the city, but also within the park, all the amenities are there. And you would have a great deal of income coming into the community. And I talked to some folks that were at Bike Week, and they looked for places for their RVs when they came here. And they would love to see something like that. And other people that I've talked to, they love the idea. So I don't know who you're talking to.
Your citizens, that's all.
Not my citizens, your citizens. But
since you asked me a personal question, Mayor, let me ask you a personal question. Since you have more experience with camping, how many times do you pull your RV or you're camping at ball fields and the splash pad in the community pool where our kids play?
that just depends on where I go camping.
At the ball field?
Well, there are ball fields in some of the campgrounds that we've been at, for sure. There's different amenities in all of these ballparks. You know, the city of Chicago's got a major park that's just wonderful. It's run by Chicago, and there's parks surrounding that. So, you know, you're looking for some particulars. There's no particulars. Everybody's a little bit different that own these parks. They're all generally state-owned or privately owned. So what we're looking for is help with an endorsement to go ahead and get this created. And we'd like your support, just as you would like us support for a lot of things as well. So that's what we're asking.
I feel like sometimes the city of Inverness feels like if I don't support one thing, that we support nothing. I love Inverness, and I think that you know by my history and my life here that I've always supported Inverness. But the RVs at this park, anywhere else, I would be in great support of it, just not there. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Commissioner Kennard.
I'm going to support it again this year. The park has tremendous needs for capital improvements there. There is a strain on everybody's budget. I believe that the city of Inverness has a track record of doing great, beautiful projects. And that if the state, you know, whether or not the county supports it, if the state decides to move forward with this, this will be yet another very nice, high-quality project within the city of Inverness and in Citrus County. So I would support it. I would encourage this board to support it. We are going to have a conversation a little bit later in the meeting today about sales tax, because in large part it would allow visitors to our community to help cover some of our capital costs, some of our infrastructure costs. That's exactly what they're looking for out of this project out at Whispering Pines Park. The county certainly does not have the money. We're putting a minimal amount towards that park. They're putting what they can towards that park, and the capital costs are stacking up out there. You got to find another way to fund those projects. It's a way of thinking outside the box. Again, I have 100% confidence it'd be a great project.
Yeah, and in addition, the pool needs to be repaired, and there's a lot of money involved in getting that fixed. And when we had to close the pool because we didn't have lifeguards, we've got a lot of people coming up saying, this is our life. We love the pool. Do whatever you can to support getting people and getting the pool fixed. In recreation, we have the travel ball. The campground is not anywhere near the ball fields. It's taking over one of the unused ball fields, and the traffic will be coming in off of Route 41 and coming off to the left just by the splash pad, of course, but it's in that quadrant that's not being used. We have also bicyclists, we have hikers, all who would spend more time and overnight in the park if we had facilities for camping. I talked to the owners of the Cove, and I said, look, I know you're not in Inverness, but are we competing against local business? And they said, absolutely not. We're actually embracing this large campground that's being built on 44 because they are exclusively larger vehicles, and we don't have the room to accommodate the kind of camping that you would be doing at Inverness, and the number of spaces are inconsequential to the business that we have. We're booked for a year. We don't find that to be competition. That would be my first thing, is that we're competing with local business, but we don't have any local business in Inverness that provides that in the city. And this, for a recreation center, this is the most appropriate way to raise money. We can't put up parking monitors and charge parking because it's just not right. We don't want to do that. We don't believe in charging people to entry fee. Camping is a small lot. It's a small type of camping lot area. It's not huge RVs. It's people who can put up tents. It's people who can bring in their trailer parking areas. I see no other way to finance the Whispering Pines Park to continue to provide the services that you're talking about, the things that people are coming there for. It's in actuality, if we decide that we can't afford the park, then we hand it back to the state, and the first thing they'll do is put in a camping ground, because that's how they make their money. Thank you.
I have Commissioner Barrick first. Commissioner Barrick.
Okay, I've been coming to these meetings a long time, and you and I know there used to be only a certain amount of money that the county gave you for Whispering Pines Park. It has grown and grown and grown. It is part of the park system of the county. Okay, so if it's part of the park system, we just forget about Chatsworth because Chatsworth is not part of any city. It's not part of any park system. It is a separate animal. When it comes to camping, 4th grade, I started camping with Girl Scouts in tents. As we got older and we had kids, we had the trailer. I have gone to Yogi Bear over in Homosassa. Okay, so camping is nothing new to me. And I know the camaraderie that you get at campgrounds. But this is a park that we, the county, has been subsidizing, and I know since at least 2010 when I started coming to meetings, for the swimming pool, which now needs to be fixed, which wasn't maintained. And we've been giving you more money and more money and more money, but it wasn't maintained. And it is one of the expensive things to maintain. So when I see you want these parks to be an RV park, I'm a little hesitant. I agree with the two things, the B and C, but when it comes to the RV park, we as a county are known as the RV capital of the state, #1, by everybody. And to add 300 more sites, and I've got other people that are sending things to the planning department that want more sites for RV. Okay, now I know you're in the city and you've got a limited amount of space, but taking a really nice park and putting an RV campground there. I mean, you got to think of something else, because I really, you know, if you have any questions for me, please ask me, because camping I've done. My son does it, my daughter does it. I go visit them. They've gone to Rock Crusher when they've come to visit us. I know there are more than enough camping sites. And if you use the camping sites that we have on the western side of the county, a lot of them butt up to the rails to trails. And that is already there. Okay? And the county has paid to get that going, so that we have the connections for the bikers, for the hikers. You know, you do have the connection on the east side with the one that comes from, you know, Citrus Springs, and it comes all the way down, which is really nice. Okay? Yeah, there is a connection, you know, the bikes go all the way down, goes past your campground and goes right over to the, you know, Henderson Lake and stuff. And so we do have some. I don't see that it's going to be a moneymaker for your facility. But I do see if you invest the money and get the pool back up, because that's one of the things the campers are going to be looking for. They're not going to go to a campsite for something that doesn't have amenities. And that's one of the first things. You're coming to Florida, you want to be able to swim. So you've got to, you know, I don't know what you've got in your plans, and whether you've got septic, sewer, water, how you're going to do that. You know, if you're going to add it to your system already, that's your plans, not mine. But I can approve B and C with no problem. But if you just want us to sign a letter, I guess we could sign a letter.
Commissioner Finnegan?
Council, maybe I could offer you this suggestion to preserve the park and still help you with the pool. It is state land. I would be willing to help in whatever capacity, especially during the time we all go to Tallahassee, but anytime from now till then and after, to ask for a state appropriation to help with the park. If there's any grants available, I would ask this board to help partner with that. And if there's any allocation, I don't know if we are even allowed to give our park money, but to look for other avenues. I am supportive of you fixing the pool, keeping the park, preserving the park. I know it's expensive. I do want to point out, though, that you're saying all these problems with the pool and it's expensive to maintain, but you added the splash pad some years ago, which is fabulous, but, you know, I'm sure when you budget, maintenance costs should be budgeted in. So I implore the council to allow us to work with you to get the funding that you need and not do something irreversible. Councilman, you said that it's on this back area that it's not used. That's not true. That area is used. It may not be a designated ball field, but I do know that people play on that. I've played on that. So I love that park for recreation. I think there are ways that we could help you. I think that there are ways that I will specifically help you if this doesn't move forward.
So just to address a couple of things that Commissioner Barrick stated. So you all have not been increasing your amount of money that you give us. And candidly, it's less today than it was prior to when it stopped during the recession, just to be clear. And we went for a number of years where there was no money. And during that time, there was a lot of back and forth with the county. Some at the city had took the position that we are owed back monies for that, and that obviously was not a good approach. And cooler heads prevailed, and we came to the amount of money that's submitted into that today. It is not just for the pool. The pool does operate, it is up and running. Those facilities were mostly built between 1979 and 1981. Pool specifically 1980. The splash pad is nearing 20 years of age. All of these things have an end of life. I don't know how many splash pads the county owns currently, but they don't have a life expectancy much past that, and they do require major upgrades as you start to get to that. So, you know, I would tell you we budget very effectively for maintenance out there, but things reach an end of life. It's just that simple. And the park went through a number of years during a recession where there wasn't an ability to have cooperative funding with that. So a lot of that capital war chest to do those things was not materialized. With all of that being said, I think everyone understands if you support something or don't, but the city's going to always be good stewards of the land and the money, and the state agrees with that. That's why they are very much willing to have us be a partner for another 50 years and know that these are the plans that we're looking at. I think Commissioner Davis might have had something to say.
Thank you. Just to address Commissioner Barrett's comments, number one is, you're right, the county does help subsidize us. But do you recognize that 90% of the use of that park is by county people, not 10, but yet we bear the majority of the cost of supporting that park? Believe me, I've been here 73 years. I know that park to me is a great jewel in our area. I played on all those ball fields, and I can tell you from all of the council here, we would never, ever attempt to do anything that would impede the aesthetics of that park or anything else. We're talking about 10 acres out of 300. There's 300 plus acres out there. We're talking about a very small portion. When I go to the travel ball tournaments, the league tournaments that show up, these people come from all over the state. I can tell you the common question from them is, we'd love to bring our RV or our camper here to stay because they're weekend tournaments, because we don't have like the west side, we don't have the RV parks and the availabilities that they have on the west side. We don't have the hotels and motels. People have no place to stay. They would love to bring them here. And if we can, that can complement that in any way and help subsidize it so that we don't have to increase the millage to our citizens, to tax base. We don't have to keep coming to you and say, we need help to help support this. So we're trying to think outside the box. How do we support our park? How do we support our citizens, keep the costs down as reasonably, and only impact a very small portion of that park and not hurt the aesthetics or overall use of it in any way? So, and I know, I can tell you that our concerns when it first came up were the same thing until we looked into it. And then we said, you know what, this may be an overall outside the box. We can do something to help support the park, our citizens, and everything else. So anyway, and that's your decision on which way you want to go.
Do you think it has to be 300 sites?
No, 100 sites.
We're not even talking less than 100 sites, very small. Have you've been to state park campgrounds? They are melded into the woodland environment, and they are typically less than 100 sites, some 50. This is not probably even going to consume 10 acres. The focus area that we looked at for it to occur was somewhere within that. But this is not a very big site. I believe your code allows for something like 17 units or more to the acre, even in your most restrictive districts. So, we're talking about building at a fractile of the density that even what your code would allow for.
So you're looking like something like Dunellen State Park, where they have the camp?
Much smaller.
Smaller than that?
Something more like Tillis Hill, which is already in Citrus County. Something more like even Holder Mine, which I believe is 40 some odd sites. These are not big. These are not what is being championed by people that are concerned as we're rolling in with the next Margaritaville. There will be limitations. The state wants to make sure that we run this and it operates just like their state parks. You can't stay there longer than, I believe it's 10 or 12 days. This is not some gigantic resort. This is very much as part of bringing people into nature, exposing them to what the park is all about. That park is a disturbed site. It's a historic phosphate mine. By lineage is what it was. And so it has a lot of opportunity to bring folks there and show a reclamation and a mitigation to bringing back opportunities beyond what's just there. The forest health there is extremely challenging, which is why forestry wants to remove themselves from the equation, because you can't do silvicultural practices on that site because it's an island in the stream. So there are areas that would benefit from a certain amount of amalgamating something like a campground into that woodland environment, and at the same time bringing more exposure and awareness to how lands like this can be best used.
Commissioner Davis?
I had two questions which just got answered during that back and forth, so thank you. I am going to support it again. I do have a little bit of a cringe factor for being the RV capital of the state in Citrus County, but all of the arguments are very well made. And of course, as chair of the TDC, I understand how desperately we need more accommodations on the east side. And I'm very glad that y'all spoke with the Cove and did all that due diligence and so forth to not be competing with private industry. And even if I had heartburn with it, I would, which I don't, I would always want to butt out, as it were. This is your territory. This is y'all's plan. This is what you manage. You're the experts at Inverness, and so I would always want to seek to support another collegial body that's running a municipality, so.
Yeah, and we, when the whole conversation about Chazawiska came up a number of months ago, I drove out there. I've been out there a number of times. I've camped there several times. And I drove out there when all this came up, and, I'm very happy as a citizen, not city manager, that you all are taking that on, because that is a special, special thing. And even though there's 2 commercial campgrounds within a stone's throw of it, they're not the same experience that you get on that publicly owned, publicly managed piece of property. And you're going to create more and more specialty there that is something that people just can't get when you camp at a commercial campground versus one that's publicly owned. And, I for one think that that's an excellent opportunity that you all have.
All right, I make a motion to approve the submission letter of support to Representative J.J. Grove for the forthcoming District 11 Senator endorsing the City of Inverness legislative appropriation request for 2026.
Second.
I have a second by Commissioner Barrick. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 4-1.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you, appreciate it.
All right, back to E1, bids. It's E1 through C.
Motion to approve E1 through C.
I have a motion by Commissioner Finnegan.
Second?
I have a second by Commissioner Kennard. Is there any public input? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0.
Motion to approve E2.
Second?
I have a motion by Commissioner Finnegan and a second by Commissioner Kennard. Is there any public input? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0.
Motion to approve E3,
Second?
A and B.
I have a motion by Commissioner Barrick and a second by Commissioner Kennard. Is there any public input? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0.
Motion to approve E4, A and B.
Second?
I have a motion by Commissioner Finnegan and a second by Commissioner Kennard. Is there any public input? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0.
Motion to approve E5, A and B.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Kennard and a second by Commissioner Barrick. Is there any public input? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0.
Motion to approve E6.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Kennard and a second by Commissioner Finnegan. Is there any public input? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0.
Motion to approve E8.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Kennard and a second by Commissioner Finnegan. Is there any public input? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Madam Clerk, could you catch Commissioner Davis up from E2 through E6?
I was not here for
E1.
E1. E1I, E12, or E2I, E3I, E4I, E5I, E6I, E7I.
E7 was pulled.
Oh, pull, sorry.
All right, we're back to E9.
Motion to approve E9.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Kennard and a second by Commissioner Davis. Is there any public input? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. On to E11. Local sales tax ordinance discussion.
Good afternoon, Commissioners.
Good afternoon.
before we lead into your discussion, I just wanted to give you a brief overview of the process that has gotten us to this point, as well as an update with the new numbers from the Chamber of Commerce since our last meeting. I'll just say next slide. Go one more. So Citrus County is one of 67 counties in Florida, as we know. Of those 67, we are the only county who has never had a local option sales tax in place. There is one other county in the state currently that is without a local option sales tax, and that is Collier County, which is the Naples-Marco Island area. All eligible purchases in Citrus County are currently taxed at 6%, which is the state sales tax. The process outlined in section 212.055 of the Florida statutes outlines exactly how we go about putting in local option sales tax and what parameters are going to be around that. Up to 1% may be levied for local use on top of the state sales tax. Could you go one more slide? There's going to be no state restriction on the duration of the levy, though a ballot may contain a sunset provision. In the Chamber of Commerce survey, there were some shorter terms listed, but the advice that we have gotten on this topic is that a 10-plus year sunset typically allows for bonding the revenue. And a referendum on a local option sales tax must receive more than 50% of the votes in a general election. Again, most of this is just a reminder. The local sales tax applies only to the first $5,000 of a major purchase. And like the state sales tax, it would not apply to necessities such as groceries, prescriptions, medical services, et cetera. The current estimate for generation of a 1% sales tax is $25 million per year, and up to 25% of that revenue could be paid by visitors to Citrus County. There was a question at the last meeting about the breakdown between the county and the municipalities. The statute that I cited earlier does provide a formula based on population. So these numbers are not going to be exact to the dollar. They may even be slightly off from the time that I prepared this, but it's based on the population at the time it was prepared, as well as that $25 million collection number. So we would get about 93.5%. 2% would be allocated to Crystal River approximately, and 4.5% to Inverness, again, based on that formula. I was asked earlier whether the percentages that were distributed to the municipalities could be used for items that were not within the bucket that we would be requesting that tax for. No, the city would need to use the money for the same purposes, fitting within the same general description of the ballot language that is presented for the Citrus County tax. So after last meeting, the Chamber of Commerce went ahead and opened up their survey again. They did provide me the results, and what we have here is just the numbers from when we reopened that survey to when they were provided to me by the Chamber. And then the second set of numbers you'll see is the first set of results that you guys saw at the last meeting, plus these numbers that I'm going to show you here. So of the new responses, of which there were 185, yeses were at 52.4%, no was 41.1%, and undecided was 6.5%. For the durations that were presented, again, there was the 4-year, 10-year, 20-year, until a target amount was received or until the Board of County Commissioners chose to remove it. There was also an other section. That one is tied with the 10 years, but it was a variety of different responses. And then for the revenue uses, multiple selections were allowed, so this will not add up to 185, but this was, and again, this is not added to those previous numbers, this is just what people responded since the last meeting. We've got roads paving, widening, stormwater drainage, park improvements, land conservation, fire EMS equipment, and other. Again, that same other, it's various different things, but some of the ones that came up multiple times are listed there underneath. And that was what we got in the last 2 weeks. And if you could go on to the aggregate results. Yeah, one more. There we go. Excellent. So again, this is the numbers that were presented at the last board meeting, plus the numbers that I just presented to you from the last 2 weeks. So this total number of responses, I believe, is 697, just shy of 700. And this includes responses from the town hall meetings that were facilitated by the chamber, the online survey distributed by the chamber, and that reopened survey. So this breaks out similarly to the previous slides when added in with the original results, and the same for the uses. And now for the fun part. We're going to have a commissioner discussion. This is the same information that was asked of the citizens, the people who filled out the survey. And ultimately, this is the information that's going to be needed for our legal department to draft an ordinance, if that is the way that the board would like to go. So those are the topics at hand. And if you have any questions related to the process or procedure, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Veronica. Well, as the chair, I want to take the opportunity to get the conversation started today. And it's an opportunity for Citrus County to address our long-term infrastructure needs on a local sales tax ballot in November. The initiative is not only about funding the critical projects, but it's also about ensuring that we as a board provide our citizens with a clear, transparent, and responsible plan for the future of our county. I'm not here today to advocate one way or the other to put this on the ballot. I'm here to simply share what I know to be facts. I think that there's a significant distrust of government in general. I don't think that Citrus County is an anomaly. I think it's everywhere. I think it's time that we engage our citizens. I think they've been very loud and clear about what they see and feel. But the reality of what we face here today is, as a local government, we have an obligation and are charged with protecting the health, safety, and welfare of our citizens. We've made an investment in transportation. 36% of our county is in conservation. When we talk about the investments that we've made in transportation, we have almost 2,000 centerline miles of road. We've consciously made a choice to put that investment, and I believe that we have an obligation to take care of what we already have made an investment in before we start down another road of putting anything else out there, before we start one more thing. So I did a little research with the help of some other folks. With the centerline mile of roads that we have in this county, if they are rated on what they call a pavement condition index of 0 to 100, 100 being the best, we're ranking at 60 or below, just below that. Just to maintain that would take $40 million a year. We have over $1 billion in capacity needs. Ozello shoulder work is $27 million. We have 29 bridges in the county that we put $50,000 a year away for maintenance. But this past year, we needed to do repairs to the tune of $2.5 million. We have 193 guardrail systems that we put $100,000 a year away for maintenance. And with SCOP roads, where we repaved them, we had to replace some guardrails. That was to the tune of $600,000. I say all of this because I relate our roads pretty much to like our house. If you buy a house, you made a very conscious choice to buy a house in Citrus County, and the road in front of it determines the value of it, how well it maintains its value. If your roof is leaking, you don't go put a pool in, and you don't build an extra garage, or you don't do any of the extra stuff. You fix what's broken. And we have a very serious conversation in front of us about needs versus wants. What I guess I'm going to propose today is I think that we have to gain the public trust back. I've heard a lot of conversation. I don't do social media, but I have gone on social media in the last couple of weeks to get a benchmark and a gauge of what people are saying. And like it or not, what's going on throughout our state is there's a lot of chatter about what's going to happen to property taxes. We have no clue. I'm not sure how we budget for next year. But what I can tell you is there's a lot of folks that say Citrus County needs to be doged. I know that they've asked the county. We signed up immediately back at the beginning of the year. We voluntarily asked to be doged. I know that they've sent some paperwork to the county. We filled it out. We've sent it back. We have not had an update from it. But what I would implore is that this county has some very big challenges and financial challenges ahead of it, and that ask the state, we're signing up. We want to be number one. Tell us. Because I think that's how we let the taxpayers know what we have done right or wrong. And if we've done it wrong, I want to hear about it. If we've done it right, I want you to hear about it. I want to hear about it. It's a path forward. But what I can tell you is I firmly believe that this board, or any past boards, being one that sat on the board in 2010, I can't tell you that there's that we haven't been frugal. I think we've been very frugal. It's just a fact of the matter that we have growing pains. We have this network of roads, and I've heard many people come up here and talk about we need to have industry come here. We need higher wage jobs. We do. We have the chicken or the egg. It's very difficult to entice a business to come here and make a large investment if we're not taking care of our primary road network, because that adds cost to the end supply of goods. The second part of that is we don't have the workforce. Workforce doesn't move here until they know that they have secured jobs. But we can't let that stop the motion forward. We have to do all of it, and it all comes with challenges. But the fact remains is that we have got to continue with the paving of these roads. We're putting 4/10 of a mil, which is equal to about a little over $6 million out of ad valorem towards this. We're using gas tax, which is about $4 million. Two pennies will sunset in 2020 or 34. Don't know what will happen with that. Gas tax continues on the decline. And every year that we defer this maintenance, it gets more expensive. And you're not going to go out and you're not going to repave a road without doing the proper stormwater drainage. A lot of these roads were built many, many years ago, and we can get, with the permission of the administrator, we can get staff to come up and talk about it. But to adequately do some of these roads, it's going to require more work than just putting pavement down. We're going to have to do stormwater drainage. And we've got to protect some of what are the wetlands, or years later from now, you will have developers come in here and do mitigation credits and develop away on it. Our hands are full, and I don't care who's sitting in this seat. It could be me, it could be John Thrumston, it could be whoever, CJ Bryant. Y'all got, whoever wants to sign up for it. The challenge here is it's not going to change. Whoever sits here is going to have the same problem to deal with. I don't know where my fellow board members are going to come, what their results are going to be. But I thought it was my job and my obligation to lay out as the chair of this board and what I have seen over the years as a plan of action. This penny is not going to save all. You can't implement this penny and then start dissecting it into 1,000 pieces and get anywhere. The penny, if it's $25 million today and you give the statutory requirements to the two cities, and then if you share anything with the school, you're down to $20 million. $20 million bonded over 10 years is $106 million. You can do the math. If you need $40 million a year to stay, you've spent that in 2 years. So what's the point of bonding? You haven't gained anything. Now, if you want me to be really honest and throw a little wrinkle in all of this, I did a little more digging, because if the citizens really want something back, there's a 1 cent fire tax that you can do for fire. We just implemented a $125 fire tax that everybody's paying. You've got, I think my math is that's about 8 million something out of that, and 11 million out of the BU. If you created a 1 cent penny tax for fire, we can eliminate all of that off your property taxes. And it all gets paid for, and 25% of that is paid by outsiders. And I'm not telling you not to do the 1 cent. I'm just telling you, you can't divide it up into 1,000 pieces and get ahead of the curve of where we need to go. It's about doing what needs to be done today and stop delaying it. It's not getting cheaper. People say, oh my God, I look at the CIP for 491 in the budget book. Well, 491 is $180 million in today's dollars. When we plan for it, when we think we might have the money years ahead, when you add 3% inflation to it, it's $300 million, because you have to add a 3% inflation to it every year. Now, what I am going to say, which may not be popular, is stop talking about adding capacity to every single side road unless you want to pay for it. It's the cheapest thing you will ever do is build a road. The most costly thing you will ever do is maintain it. We can't afford to keep adding capacity to every side road in this county to make sure that you get somewhere 5 minutes faster. You've got to set your alarm clock 5 minutes earlier, or you've got to adjust your time frame so that you can get through that stoplight when it makes you sit there twice. I don't know what to tell you. You're either going to pay for it in taxes, or you're going to learn to adjust your clock. Those are just cold, hard facts. I know some people think I give way too much detail and I get way too in the weeds. But facts matter. We are not going to fix this in the way we budget right now. And I'm going to be as bold and brazen to tell you, this will never be fixed. You cannot continue to pay for residential road maintenance out of your ad valorem. It won't work. Long term, it will not work. Well, you'll tax yourself to death. There's not enough mills. It just won't happen. You're going to have to create an alternative funding mechanism to keep up with maintenance. That's facts. I don't know what the answer is, but I can tell you the next thing on conservation, I can't agree to putting anything further in conservation because I did a little research on that too. And there's a number of programs. Florida Forever, Rural Family Lands Protection, Florida Wildlife Corridor, Agriculture Conservation Easements, Land and Water Conservation Fund, Readiness and Environmental Protection Integration. You've got all kinds. And let me tell you, and I'm not ashamed to say it, if the state can find $80+ million to buy 4 acres in the Panhandle, buy away in Citrus County. But I'm not smart enough. I know there's a tiger table out there somewhere on time value of money. If I take your tax dollars to buy conservation lands and take it off the tax rolls and then tell you I'm going to tax you more so I can create more dollars, that just defies logic. So I'm going to shut up. You've all had your Sunday sermon now. And I'm going to turn it over to whoever wants to talk. And Commissioner Kennard just took it over.
I will cut right to the chase here. I am going to support putting this on the ballot, letting folks decide. There are an awful lot of people in our community that want to see more money going into road resurfacing. There are also an awful lot of folks in our community that want to see us getting land set aside so that it won't be developed in the future. So whether the conservation part would involve purchasing property or partnering with state agencies to purchase conservation easements so that the few large farms that are left in the county could potentially be set aside to be preserved forever. The farmers could still use the property, but ultimately it would never be developed. So I would suggest that we direct staff to put a 1%, write an ordinance that would put a 1% sales tax on the 26 ballot in place for 10 years so that we do have the ability to bond it. And I would support using the funds for that for road resurfacing, improving our parks and conservation, either acquisition or conservation easements. But that would be it. And long before this would ever go to the public, I think this board needs to develop a very specific CIP plan that is for this money. How's the money going to be spent so that neither this board nor future boards could go, well, we've decided we want to go a different direction with it. We need, we came up short for first responders, for police or fire or whatever. So that's what I would support.
Commissioner Barrett?
I'm not going to support that. I see a 1% for one item only, and that would be the residential roads. We just increased impact fees, okay? That means the impact fees for parks just increased. So if we need more parks that are usable for the citizens, we're going to be collecting the money from the people coming to this county. And I was out this weekend to a lot of different organizations, and I got a completely different, they want the residential roads done. And that's all they want done. They want to be able to drive on their roads and not mess up their cars. They said they didn't care about anything else except getting the roads done. And I talked to a couple of them, and they didn't realize if you lived in Inverness, Inverness is going to get at least $1 million towards their city streets to get done. And that Crystal River is going to get around $300,000 to get city streets done. So that's a win-win for the people that actually pay double taxes. You know, you pay county and city tax. So that would be a win-win for Inverness citizens and Crystal River citizens, because you would have the money in the residential roads that they go to visit their friends and money for their actual city streets. So I cannot support anything except going for a residential road resurfacing and repaving only at 1%.
Do you two have anything? Commissioner Davis?
Sure. With all due respect to my esteemed colleagues, it's not up to us. It's up to the voters. The voters will either vote this up or down. We are only allowed to educate. We cannot advocate. Typically, successful sales tax referendums have someone to advocate for it, to get out there and talk with residents. And a big portion of that is to make sure that a market research study that represents all aspects of a community is properly done. And that's one huge aspect of it. The second aspect of it is that then begats the actual language and the actual goals that the money is going to bring to fruition. I think that I'm not going to support an ordinance today because, quite frankly, it feels like it's disenfranchising voters, both for and against. There are many people in the community that are for it because they understand the powerful math behind getting our neighbors to pay for 25% of something that we either desperately need or very much want. Again, that's up to the voters. There's also a contingent that is going to be against it no matter what. There's going to be the two very excellent first blush looks at market research shows that there's a certain contingent that says, heck no, and then once they get further in, they go, oh, well, if it was for this, I could support it, right? So that's where it comes down to simply making sure that the facts, to Chair Bays's point, the facts are out there. And then the citizens, and to me, it's a great relief to me as a commissioner that I don't have to make the hard call on this. This is truly the residents get to vote whether they want it and for what. I would encourage everyone to look at the Ocala Wetland Recharge Park. If you just Google that, it will show up a beautiful, beautiful dual-purpose park. So it is a recharge area to help mitigate flooding. It allows for a lot of beautiful flora and fauna, wildlife that our residents, me included, are crazy about protecting and loving them in the neighborhood. I'm looking at you, Mark Sveska with Pine Ridge. Hear about the wildlife so much. We're now at a time of year where I'm really enjoying the bird song because I can keep my doors and windows open. So if you look at the Ocala Wetland Recharge Park, our Director of Parks and Rec, Terry, came up with an idea in my district. If you guys recall, when we did the North Florida Land Trust presentation, I mentioned the property that you wanted to see purchased for our parks, Commissioner Barrick. I mentioned Pirates Cove. I said, surely we can do something with the Oaks or something in Floral City area. And I don't know what I said for you, but that's up to you. But I never brought up a project in my own district. And yeah. And Terry had this fantastic idea for the old fish hatchery in my district that could be re-watered and creating a park very much like the Ocala Wetland Recharge Park, which is absolutely stunningly beautiful, but it's also very strategic in resiliency. It's not just a want to see the wildlife, it's also a need to have additional resiliency in our county. Along with wildlife corridors and matching funds for grants and so forth. Again, so happy that this is not my call, this is the voters' call. So I am not going to support doing an ordinance today. We still have plenty of time until May. We can have the community that is engaged in this raise money to hire whomever they please. North Florida Land Trust is ready, willing, and able to take this on. There are other players in that space. But I think I've said quite enough. Thank you.
Commissioner Finnegan?
Well, I didn't see that coming. I could support waiting
for sure. Here's where I am. Not much has changed for the last 2 weeks from the last board meeting. I think that there has been enough people in the community that has spoken about, yes, we should look into that and getting more money, since a quarter of that may come from people visiting and buying things in our community. I think it's enough to consider putting it on the ballot. People can vote yes or vote no. Here's why I'm not so invested in drilling down. I like all the ideas, so I'll kind of flow with the will of the board. I honestly don't think it's going to pass, and I don't mean to be the Debbie Downer, the naysayer, and here's why. I truly think that very concerned people and that have this on their radar wanted to participate in the survey and really wanted to have a voice, and I'm thankful that the chamber took that on and the people that volunteered to get that information. I think roads were probably the biggest concern. Everybody that did a survey out there. I know Mr. Bryant did one. Also, the chamber followed up, and thank you for doing that, did more. And it looks like people are concerned about roads. So if we put that on the ballot, I think people will be tuned into that. But what's going to happen is people are going to go out and vote for other things, specifically the next governor of Florida. And when they get out there, I think most of the people do not have this on the radar. They're not following. And my thoughts are, when they get there and they see that it's not a direct reduction in their taxes, and it will in turn cause them more money or to spend more money, I think that the no will come. That being said, maybe I'm off base with that. So I'm happy to put that on the ballot. I'm open and ready to hear however you all want to do it, whether we wait and come up with a more solidified plan. It does sound like we're a little bit all over the map, which I expected. However we drill that down, I think that it really needs to be whatever we feel like these concerned people have put out there and made a voice. Do what the public has said. We trusted people to go out and do a survey. I'm going to trust whatever answers are coming back. It's just I don't trust when it actually hits the ballot that gets us there. So I want to be a supportive board member to what this board thinks. It looks like roads are there. I'm hearing conservation too, but I guess we'll have to drill down what wins.
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Davis.
Couple of things that I needed to put a point on this is that there's no organization worth their salt will take on advocating for this in the community unless they sign off on the market research. And so they have to do their own. Again, that is thank you to the chamber. Thank you to Mr. Bryant for doing those. It gave us a really good first look at it, but true market research firms do a whole different level of market research. And those organizations that would potentially advocate for this will do the market research and propose something to us that is based on that market research. Secondly, given the climate in Tallahassee for tax reform, and we don't know what's going to happen this season, and so I would hate for us to be locked into an ordinance at this point when we have until May. We can see what the vibe is in Tallahassee. If they're going to be looking at getting rid of ad valorem, then gosh, how are we going to fund any government? Are they going to then do a 15% sales tax, which of course will tank commerce from anybody out of state? So it's a complex subject going into Tallahassee season right now, legislative season, and I just don't think we should be in such a rush when we have plenty of time.
I appreciate that. That's exactly my point when I feel like we have some time to regain the public trust. And not that I'm talking about the 1 cent sales tax, but Mr. Howard, is there a way to create something online, some type of a portal to start to engage the public about our budget and get some honest feedback? so that we can start to answer some questions. I think they, for whatever reason, they feel left out. They don't understand the budget. I'm not sure how to get them there, but I do believe that this is a time that we can't overcome this. I mean, we have got to start engaging our public and getting them to the table to participate. I'd like to hear your thoughts. I know that, you know, you're our CEO, you work in the trenches every day, you work with staff, you see the numbers. I'd like to hear your input.
Well, I think what you all know, it's not a secret. You got a lot of F-bombs here to fund. Just like you said, you get the penny tax passed. It's not going to solve everything. It's probably something you can utilize that funding for other things. But we're trying to do a variety of things as far as public outreach. Obviously, I have a Sunday commentary. We got Citrus and Focus videos. We've tried to do a lot of things with educating. Citizens Academy, another great opportunity. But there's other best practices that we can try to deploy to try to do that engagement, which is always challenging, but making sure that we're reaching the public where they're at. And you got to find out that means. Some people don't do Facebook. There's a lot of people that don't do Facebook. So how do you reach them? That's always a challenge. How do you reach the public and things like that? But we're looking at all those opportunities with staff, with budgeting. Actually, next year we're wanting to roll out a whole new program way in advance with like town halls and those kind of things. But to actually do that in a authorized, with your authorization to do those things, but also do it collectively, but do it in the right manner with the public to be able to get their input and feedback. But all those things you're talking about, we can do that, but there's no magic formula. But we're going to work hard to actually do that with the public, and we'll get your feedback and input with this board. But we're ready to roll up our sleeves to, work with the public. We're doing that now. But we got to know how to meet them and how do you meet them. But we'll do surveys or lots of different things we can do with our communications team to reach out to the public and look at best practices that others are doing in other governments.
So this year we're right at, I think it's about a little over 16 million in residential road resurfacing. And it was over like 5.1, 5.2 million. Was the last one-time funding that we had to add to get it to that level. So this is the last year, basically, to have an opportunity to keep funding at that level, which means we're less than 50% of the mark of where we need to be.
Yes, I would say that. We don't know what all those numbers are at. Obviously, Mont McDonald will be with us, I think, in November. So I want to kind of look at that data when they bring that data forward. Obviously, I've heard different numbers. I like to wait until I actually see the numbers, but clearly it's a big number. I mean, if you have almost 2,000 miles of road, this isn't that challenging to look at the numbers, to do the math. And if you weren't funding it many, many years ago, trying to catch up is challenging as well, based on those circumstances. So, but rightfully so, yes. So this was a challenging year to actually budget to make the numbers work this year. Obviously, next year's going to be a very challenging year to be able to get to those numbers.
I know that you have resources available, whether it's through that other organization or our own internal staff, but I've listened, to other commissioners' comments, and I know residential road resurfacing is at the top of everybody's list and they want it done, but that's maintenance. And I know that that's where we're struggling. But I'd like to know what that looks like on a scale if we're not doing $40 million a year, adding that inflation in, what it looks like when we're not doing capital projects. I mean, we should be, I'd like to know fundamentally from a budget policy procedure what it's going to take year over year, because we shouldn't be looking at today. This is about looking 10, 15, 20, 30, 40, 50 years into the future. And as population grows, I mean, you can take those estimates, you can build it in. We know that we're going to have growth in sales tax. We know that we're going to have growth in population. But I'd like to see it on some kind of a timetable, where the break even is, how we catch up, what the deferral is, what the inflation looks like. We've got to start building a picture towards this, because this is getting out of hand. I mean, it's gone on far too long, and just to say that we're going to continue to do maintenance when we can't fund it today, we're not going to be able to fund it. But when I say tomorrow, I mean 10 years is tomorrow to
And I
me.
think that data that's going to come forward in November will have a tool in place that actually can project what you're talking about, also the financial tool that you authorized us to go out and acquire through a third-party consultant. We'll be able to actually look into the future as well, which you never had those tools before in your toolbox. All those tools are coming online very soon. Metro forecasting, which that was mentioned today, it's going to be coming online soon. So all these tools you're going to have in your toolbox that you never had before that will help you forecast in the future. And you're going to have to look at it and be honest and look in the mirror and say, this is what I need. But some of this is pretty basic math. When you look at the numbers you're going to need, the money that you're going to need you don't have, and it's going to be about needs versus wants, and it's going to get more challenging as you go forward, I think. But all these tools that we're going to have will actually help us make better decisions, data-based decisions, and actually look at the best ROI, return on investment for the taxpayers of this county.
And then from a legal perspective on a ballot, what is the latest that you would feel comfortable? I do think this is doable. I just think that there has to be, if 5 people can't come to a consensus up here, how do we expect 165,000 people to come to a consensus? I'm not telling you we don't need the penny, but we have got to get unified in our vision of where we're at today and where we're going over the next 20, 30 years. This is it. I mean, it's here. The people are coming. The growth is coming. We're not going to stop it. All we can do is plan for it. And people say, well, because you're getting more people in, you're going to have more tax revenue. Well, if you've ever owned a business, the more your business grows, the more expensive the needs are. I mean, you have additional cost. Your air conditioning, you need to hire more people. You might need a bigger space, more insurance. I mean, there's more fuel costs. It costs more as you grow. That's the same thing that's going to happen to this county. And whatever inflation points you feel at home, we feel them here. It's the fuel and the trucks for the employees. It's the electric that keeps the lights on, our insurance cost. The list that you feel, we feel it here in government. But from a perspective of where you feel most comfortable, if we can come with a unified voice, what is the latest point that you feel comfortable about moving forward with a ballot initiative?
I'd have to look to staff and legal with what the back end of that date. I don't have
I know it says May, but I don't feel comfortable rolling into May. I think April.
So I did outline the next steps between now and May that would be needed to go ahead and finalize this. So I'll read those off, and then maybe Ms. Lynn can tell us how long she thinks she would need. If there's a vote to pursue an ordinance today, legal would draft that ordinance based on the direction provided, the things on this slide. The draft ordinance would be presented for approval at a future board meeting. And I think I did the math, there's about 10 between now and May. There would then have to be, am I correct in that there would be 2 public hearings for the ordinance?
There's a public hearing to set, or there's an agenda item to set it, and then the public hearing would be at the next one. So it's 2 meetings. So I would say you need to have your ducks in a row by, say, March.
Okay.
So that we can have the ordinance done as late as possible would be the 2 meetings in April. So if you make up your minds, maybe the first meeting in March, advertise it the second meeting in March, and have it the first meeting in April, which would give you, 3 weeks to get it to whomever, but that's really close.
There's one other step that's on there, and I'm not sure if that would be your office or if it would be OMB, but it would be actually preparing the documentation based on what the ordinance says to submit to OPAGA to have them review it. So if the submission is due in May, I would think that we would need to build a little additional time in there as well.
I don't know what is entailed in that step. I'm just talking about the ordinance. So do you know what needs to be compiled?
I believe it's documentation similar to what our commissioner was talking about, a budgetary document that outlines exactly what the expenditures would be to allow the state to review them to ensure that they're legally admissible.
So from the legal perspective, I'm saying first meeting in March. This other thing, I don't know if we want to hear from OMB how long it's going to take them, but from just doing the ordinance, first meeting in March, make up your minds, set it for the second meeting in March, to have it heard the first meeting in April.
Okay. Thank you. Commissioner Berg.
I've been sitting here for years. The reason people don't trust, and you're right, the people don't trust us, because they've been hearing, well, we'll do it in the next election cycle. Mr. Canardo, Commissioner Canardo over here, well, we're gonna do it next time, we're gonna do it next time, we're gonna do it next time. Every time we're gonna do it next time, what has happened to your property taxes? They've gone up, and they've gone up, and they've gone up. We still don't have the residential roads done. And that's what the people are saying they really want. They would like us to take a stand and say, fine, we need to do the roads, they need to get done, and yes, you know, it's up to them to vote yes or no. We're possibly willing to pay 1 penny. Just like if I go to Ocala, it costs me a penny more to go buy things. If I go to Brooksville, it costs me a penny more. They don't mind doing that, okay? But it's because we keep kicking the can down the road. And that's the phrase I've heard for years. Kick the can down the road, and in the meantime, our property taxes go higher and higher and higher. And we were told by the Office of Budget Management, we're not gonna be able to get 16.9 next year for residential roads. Because this was the last year she was gonna be able to do this and do that. So we have got to figure ahead of time what we need to do. If a 1 cent is gonna get 25 million or 22 million for the residential roads, that's more than the 16.9. That's also gonna make it so somewhere in our budget, we can decrease our transportation costs because we're not gonna have to put the 16.9 in there because we're getting it from sales tax. And I know maybe I'm wrong, but if I'm getting money from sales tax to do the roads, I can take the money that was going to roads, not drop it 100%, but drop it down and give our taxpayers some relief. And I think that's what our taxpayers are actually looking for. The fact that let the visitors pay some of it and give them a little bit of relief. And I can't keep saying, kick it down the road, kick it down the road. Whatever we need to do, we need to get the verbiage done by March. I would say do something in February, get it done, so by the first meeting in March, we've got everything set. And, you know, to me, the people that worked on the committees, maybe they want to work a little bit more on the committees and get more numbers. You know, maybe they should go to some of the meetings that already exist. I mean, there's a lot of communities that have their own meetings rather than calling a town hall that nobody shows up for. Okay, so maybe that's what we need to do. You know, ask them and Mr. Taylor if his committee would mind working a few more months and bring us back a little bit more documentation, little more numbers. But I get tired of, you know, kicking the can down the road.
Madam Chair?
I got Commissioner Finnegan.
Okay.
I just wanted to get a little clarification where we were as a board. There's talk about roads. I'm hearing residential road resurfacing. I know road expansion was part of that. Haven't really heard a lot of talk about that. I just want to remind you that when we put something on the ballot, and again, what the board comes up with, I'm always supportive on the ballot because that's not us saying yes, it's just us saying you all decide. People that live on private roads, if it's road resurfacing, it's a no. So like Black Diamond, no. People on dirt roads, no, because they're not going to get any of that money. The $16.9 million that we're spending out there this year, all those people are going to vote no. The people probably within the last handful of years, they're voting no. Why? The roads are absolutely fine. They're not going to go to the store and spend more money on their goods and services when it goes to residential road resurfacing. I know that came out higher, and I know people are very concerned about roads, rightly so, but I'm not advocating for something. I'm just, you know, trying to expand our conversation a little bit. If we are drilling down on roads, we may want to think about capacity. We've talked about 491. We've talked about Cardinal.
Homosassa Trail. I'm sure there's others, you know, as Rock Crusher. I've heard people say that with the development coming out there. I'm not advocating. I just want to hear your thoughts because, again, I feel like when it goes to the ballot, already people are gun shy about putting extra costs on their annual income, and this would do that. So if you're looking to help the county as a whole, you have to realize out the gate what portion of people is already going to be a no when it comes especially to residential road resurfacing. I do kind of throw it out there when I'm in small groups as a commissioner talk, and again, not rendering an opinion. I just say, what do you think? Everyone's talking about sales tax. What do you think about that? There are a few that says, oh, if tourists can, you know, help pay for it, it's a good idea. It's the smaller number of the people. Most people say, I don't care what it's for. I don't care what it's for. They take enough of our money is what I'm getting. So again, we're all looking at different pockets of people, but if you're wanting that yes vote, start thinking when whatever your idea is, okay, how many people are for this, but how many people are you already know they're going to say no to it. And I think with residential road resurfacing, you can kind of figure that out at this point. Thank you.
Commissioner Kennard.
Yes. Commissioner Finnegan, you hit the nail squarely on the head. First, with your comment that you don't think it's going to pass. I'm not going to go as far to say that, but I've been told for years sitting up here that it's an uphill battle and you've got to find the right formula to get enough yes votes to the polls. We have also been told the entire time that if it's just road resurfacing, it's dead out of the gate. There's no reason to put it on there because that kills the local sales tax option for probably another 6 or 8 years before you can even consider putting it back on the ballot again. Do I think that that's something that needs to be part of the equation? Yes. But we should be looking at, you look at the people that responded to this survey, and roughly half of them, road resurfacing was important, was their top priority. So you can't just summarily dismiss the other half of the people that took time to get involved. And so for us to say, no, we want just road resurfacing, that's all we're going to do, now we're deciding what it's going to be used for and not taking the results of these surveys seriously. We've also been told many times that these things take a campaign that takes a year and a half. And we're talking about not bringing an ordinance forward until March or April for a November ballot. I think this is already in trouble right out of the gate. And if you delay it until that point, you're putting yourself way behind the 8 ball. And I believe, I don't recall if it was you or Commissioner Davis that said, we're just putting it on the ballot for folks to decide. I think it's up to these 5 board members to come together with the results that we've gotten so far and saying, all right, this is the CIP, black and white. If the voters approve this is what the money's going to be spent on. But while we've still got a number of months to go, I think time is of the essence for somebody to begin, for us to make a decision and then somebody to begin that campaign of saying, we have got these needs out here and, we need to find the formula that gets enough yes votes there. It is an uphill battle though, for sure.
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Davis.
I also concur about residential road resurfacing not being an appropriate use for a sales tax for all the reasons that Commissioner Finnegan brought up. I've brought those up myself many times. So my journey down this, working with a land organization, goes back multiple years, and it started off with Trust for Public Land. And Pegeen, her last name is escaping me right now, but they've literally, Trust for Public Land has lost one sales tax initiative in all the ones that they've done. We were then referred to North Florida Land Trust. Both of those organizations do very advanced professional market research. And I would hazard a guess that I'm probably the only one of us five who's actually taken market research at the university level. And it taught me just enough to know what I don't know, because I was on a different subspecialty track, but as part of my degree in advertising, I had to learn about market research. It is an incredibly technical profession, and we need people that know how to do that professionally to gauge what people want in the community and what specifically that they, if they are in favor of it, what they want. North Florida Land Trust has assured us that we absolutely don't have time to waste, but there is a certain ramp-up period on the, the advocating portion, the campaign portion that needs to happen, and it needs to happen throughout whatever year of the election. So yes, we need to move quickly, but the steps here would be simply for us to use our contacts in the community to get funds donated to a PAC. The PAC would then feed whichever organization we go to. And there's also lobbying firms that do this as well. I personally have heard loud and clear that people want to preserve the nature coast and they want to stop development. And y'all know as well as I do that we can't stop development. We can only shape it and control it. And we've done our part with impact fees and so on and so forth. And also, we can't get those high-wage jobs. As Chair Bay said earlier, we can't get those high-wage jobs without the correct mix of folks moving here, and it's a chicken or the egg situation. So I personally would like to see one of the land organizations lead this for us, and I had that difficult, not really difficult, but I was fairly blunt in my question to them last week. And I said, so there are those that want just infrastructure. There are those that want a mix of various things. And I said, to my mind, we let the people speak through a professional market research study and let the chips fall where they may. And
Is that a motion? Or maybe you want to make a motion?
I would like to hear from the public.
And let me finish my thought on this. Now you've derailed me. Where was I? Thank you, Commissioner Kennard. And, yeah, the blunt conversation, I said, let the chips fall where they may. If the market research comes back that it's 100% infrastructure or something that has nothing to do with land preservation, that's absolutely the winning ticket to harness that 25% gift from our neighbors, is essentially what that is, then the land trust would kindly back out of promoting it, but they will abide by what our residents say. And if there is any portion that it looks like the best winning combination is, say, a 1/4 point for land preservation and recharge areas and things like that, and 3/4 of the point goes to infrastructure, they're fine with that. They will do all of the advocating for the entire program for the campaign through the ballot. So I would say, I don't know if it's a motion or a consensus, but what I would advocate for here is that we use our connections to raise money through a PAC, and this is us on a personal level, not as a board, okay, to raise money to go to a PAC that will then go to someone, whether it's North Florida Land Trust or Trust for Public Land. They actually work collegially, and they indicated that on the phone call last week, that they would, do what they specialize in each way, the two organizations. So that's where I am.
I'd like to open it up to the public. Anyone wishing to address the board, please come forward.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
before you do that, please forgive my interruption to the public, but that was a lot. I would like our attorney to, if she might address a few of these things, like when I'm hearing the board and putting money into a PAC, and I don't know if we can even do all of that. I mean, is that?
No.
That's-
I think you misunderstand. This
Okay,
is zero
clarify.
taxpayer money, zero anything that this board does as a collegial body. It's us, it's you, resident Finnegan, okay, who has contacts in the county saying, hey, and this is if you want it to be considered by the voters, then you make phone calls like you would with fundraising for a campaign to get folks in the community to donate to a PAC.
I understood you.
To do the market research is 25,000.
But I thought you had said the five of us set it up, set up
No.
the PAC.
Oh, okay. No.
That's
The PAC is already long established by those
I see.
by those land advocacy organizations.
Thank you for the clarification. That, and then, pardon me, Bob. You had also said about funding this, but I didn't hear a cost associated.
So it's 25,000 to do the market research to get started, to finalize that report and give us an answer that we can hang our hat on and write the ordinance. And then they said, essentially, you raise another 25,000, you have an okay chance, another 50,000, so 75 total. You have a pretty doggone good chance, and if you raise 100,000, it's almost certain to go through.
Well, and I don't know how they're advocating, but again, I feel like most people out there, especially if it got to a 2028, when it's a presidential election, all of these people that are not watching or, they're not reading the paper, they do know, they're kind of watching on a national level. They understand when it's time to vote. They all come and vote. I think for many, many people that vote in Citrus County, this may be the first time that they see something on the ballot. That's why I think that the wording is very important to get that right. So I don't know about paying more money, but you're saying it wouldn't be county money.
No.
Okay. Yeah, I would not be for the county paying any money for this.
It is generally considered that the business community would be in favor of this because they understand the business premise of getting money back from our, neighboring counties, because we pay for their stuff when we buy out of county. It's only a good business decision to have our neighbors do the same when they come back here. Long-term, what that does is it also regains public trust were it to pass, and we end up doing these wonderful things. Like, there's a reason why sales tax ordinances continually pass again after the sunset goes out, because residents can see, oh my gosh, this is what this money paid for. And the whole idea here is that it relieves the burden on ad valorem and other taxing structures. Right now, we're so far behind the eight ball, we might be shooting ourselves a little bit in the foot to say, hey, if we're gonna be getting 23 million or whatever, that we roll back a couple of points on the ad valorem for roads, because now we've really shot ourselves in the foot because we're so far behind. But if you look at the long-term fiscal implications, having this set up is really good financial decision to long-term always be as tight as we can and keep our ad valorem as low as we can, right? Does that make sense?
Yes.
I'll give an example. If you look at Marion County generates $79 million in sales tax. And their ad valorem is like 4.5. But they do that because they've diversified their revenue. They have an MSTU for their sheriff. They have MSBUs for residential roads. They've done budget reform. And that's something I've been preaching for years, but that's a very heavy lift, and that's a bigger conversation.
Amen. I've brought that up in past years as well. The ad valorem has to come down to see better business growth here, which helps all of us. But we have to have alternate funding mechanisms.
Anyway, Bob, you're on first.
I never thought I'd get up here and address this topic. I try to stay mainly in water and natural resources, but I did live in Tampa in the early 90s, and this is almost like deja vu. They did not have a stadium in Tampa at that time, and they wanted to build a Buck Stadium, so they put in a referendum to have for the voters to put a 1% sales tax. I'm not quite sure what the sales tax was, but I think it was 1% to pay for a stadium. Very simple. Boom, it failed. They went back to the drawing board, and I think they hired a professional consulting firm like Holly Davis suggested, and they bundled it. And the next year when they bundled it, the same referendum came for a 1% sales tax, for EMS, increase in wages, fire increase in wages, and oh, by the way, a stadium. It passed. So I'm not quite sure of exactly how that went down, but it might be worthwhile looking into exactly what has happened, because I do think that you're going to need professional services of this. And I do not think that you should sit here and try to decide today exactly how to bundle this. Look back at history and maybe learn from some history. But I'm not sure I got it exactly correct, but I'm pretty close to that. That's what happened. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Curtis Bryant, Lecanto. So to address Commissioner Barrick, the question I have there, you're talking about the $16 million, we're not going to have that next year. If this goes to the ballot, we're not going to have the $16 million from this next year either. So you guys don't get that till January, I believe, when it goes into effect, and then it takes time to gather money, all that stuff. So whatever decision you guys make for roads next year is going to be the decision for roads next year, then this goes beyond that. So something to point there. The request for the outside consultants, if you guys make the decision today, we're going to do roads and conservation, or we're going to do whatever it is that you guys want to do with it, how does it move forward from there? Like, you guys can't advocate for it, you guys can't do it. So what entity is it? It can be the chamber that drives that for the discussion in the public to educate people, all those things. So I think we need an outside entity of some sorts to take over that, to push that forward to the voters. And a market research firm that specializes in that will do the market research. They will go to the voters, determine what the voting population is, do the polling based on that voting population to make sure that the surveys are accurate. And they have a very high success rate in doing that because they do the research. The expansion aspect of it, there is some support in the community for doing expansion, but from what I've talked to people, expansion rewards the developers. For all this time, we haven't done impact fees, we haven't done these things, and now we're going to award developers 491 or Cardinal or whatever avenue it is there. So most people want the resurfacing aspects from that. A question that you guys kind of mentioned, I think Commissioner Davis mentioned it, what happens at the state level? Let's say they decide, put on the ballot in January, we're going to get rid of property taxes. They're going to replace it with something, whether state income tax or sales tax, something like that. That's going to go on the ballot. This is going to be on the ballot with that. So now if the state comes back and says, hey, we're going to do a 12%, 13% sales tax to replace property tax, and now we're going to add another 1% on top of that. And you get to get voters to buy into that. That doesn't happen with you guys. That takes an outside agency to educate the people. So if we decide that today, and then the state comes back in February and says, hey, we're going to do the sales tax option, then we're kind of shooting ourselves in the foot, getting cart before the horse kind of thing. So my suggestion is to kind of tap the brakes a little bit and make some people unhappy in the community to kind of postpone these things. But I think by doing it the correct way, getting more community involvement, getting an entity that specializes in this at no taxpayer dollars, to guide the ship forward, determine exactly what uses the people want to see, determine the percentages. You guys can say we're going to do roads and conservation, but what percentage? We haven't heard that. We haven't heard the breakdowns and things like that. So that's my suggestion, is kind of move this forward, but bring somebody else in to kind of handle the logistics of that and give you guys the input for that. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Leland Ship, Floral City, and this is what this looks like at the chamber. It's been a while. I just want to share a story of when in my career. Now, I was responsible for a budget much larger than what y'all have. And my bonus was based on performance of that budget. And so there were a couple times in my career that I brought in outside eyes to look at my budget to help me. And every time they did that, it was amazing to me how I was so focused in what I was doing that I missed some things. And they were able to help me make my budget perform better. And so I don't know why when we talk about having a review or a Doge audit that everybody goes, oh, that's a bad thing. I think it makes us more efficient. And I think our goal is to be successful at what we're doing, right? So why not let somebody take a look and share some things with you to say, here's where you could pick up some ground. Now, I'm not saying you're going to get $60 or $46 million, but I'm saying you may be able to do that and come back to the public and say, well, here's where we're short, okay? And so the other thing I'll share with you with that is I think that that audit will help you bridge a gap from us versus them to we. With the public, with the citizens. You'll be able to say, look, we heard you, we did this audit, and this is where we're coming short, or maybe we're doing well, whatever it is. But you can talk to them more and give them an understanding, because I'll tell you, most people out there don't understand the budget. They think all your money goes into one account, and then y'all decide where it goes. They don't understand the mechanisms of government. Now, I'm minored in political science, not that I'm going to choose that as a career, but I'm just saying I understand a little bit how that all functions. Not that I know everything, but the John Q. Citizen doesn't. And so that could help y'all bridge that gap. Also, that could help y'all find some gravy in the bowl y'all didn't know was there, or it's sometimes when you have that done, you have to change your own behavior. So like for me, I had to quit trying to push one area and try to maximize another area that I didn't pay attention to. So I think there's some things that y'all can do before you say, we're going to put it on the ballot. I think y'all should do some homework on that to get efficient or better, or how can we improve so that we can bridge that gap to we. And the last thing I'll say is I was challenged for some solutions for transportation, and I have 5 packets for 5 commissioners. I broke down some other counties and what they've done. And so I'm going to leave this with her so y'all can look at. Now, I'm not saying it's going to solve your problem, but it could. But a Doge audit would ignite it. I'll just tell you that. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Renee Bedford, Floral City.
You didn't go to work?
Okay, I'm gonna say, I think we should put it on the ballot. And the only issue I hear here is the problem of information of the details part, so leave it to the people to inform the people. Maybe me and Leland can get together and inform the community on a community level. I don't think the online portal, that obviously isn't working. You're not getting the right information. Because not everybody, you're right, is on Facebook. But community speaks with community. I think that's pretty much all I have to address right now. I think it should be put on the ballot. The county needs more money, and the citizens ain't got it.
Thank you, Renee.
Mark Saveska, again, live at 3633 North Wagon Point, speaking only for me, not for Pine Ridge, just to make sure that's clear. I'm going to offer to you that if you do want to put it on the ballot, and I do favor that, turn it over to the people, you're already behind. If you take a look at social chatter since that September meeting, you're already behind. You're losing the fight before you ever have a chance to engage. I think that market research comment is absolutely essential, and it needs to happen soonest. There needs to be an education campaign. I think Mr. Howard talked a little bit about that, on how you approach that to get the word out. The town halls and everything will work good. You'll need to maintain your flexibility or the option, because you're waiting for how Tallahassee is going to respond in the next legislative session. but you'll need to preserve that option on what it's actually going to be worded like. But you got to do the market research. You got to start the education campaign. You got to do it now because you are so far behind if you just look at the social chatter. Unless, of course, you want it to fail, then it'll just fail under its own weight. But I think the citizens of this county deserve better. I think this Board of County Commissioners can offer a lot in helping shape our way ahead. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mark.
Susan Nelson, Sala Gardens. I'm right outside the city limits, so I'm in the county, but I'm close enough to always enjoy the city. I can always get there. Everything I own is on a family trust, so I pay full taxes no matter what. So that's not an issue to me. I think you're doing a great job, personally, and I'm for the tax. But I see, in say maybe 30 years, say the economy collapses, what will actually happen is if you don't have beautiful cities, everything's going to be absolutely ugly. Absolutely ugly, horrible. So I would focus on microculture, like a vibrant, like small things that people will always enjoy and always feel like that's their culture, their mini culture, microcultures, and keep the cities beautiful. Because, when the economy collapses, then the outskirts are going to go by the wayside, and people are going to have to make their choices, but what you're going to have is the inside, and keep that beautiful if you possibly can. As beautiful as you possibly can.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair, Board, Bob Esposito. I live at 5500 East Falcon Lane, Inverness, Florida, about 10 minutes south of here. Happen to also run the Hernando Citrus MPO, so I just wanted to put in a little bit of input. We're about $20 million short just to maintain what we need in Citrus County. And as the gentleman said, I do agree with the idea of Doge. Just asking not for an answer right now, but think about where could you cut your budget for 20 million just to break even on your road maintenance. And keep in mind, road maintenance gets more expensive as the roads deteriorate. Because when your under base deteriorates, the limestone's the expensive part. Milling and getting rid of and replacing the asphalt, that's the cheap part. I personally, to me, doesn't matter how you raise the funds. At some point, the funds are going to need to be raised. The proverbial can is now a 55-gallon drum, and it's getting bigger. That's the reality of it. Either my millage has to go up at some point to break even, or we do some type of sales tax. That's the only way I can see it, unless you can Doge the 20 million that you need just to maintain. I understand land conservation is important and managing growth. I'll say growth is good, but growth without a plan is not good. I know we've talked about grants. Grants require a match. Without a funding source, you're not going to get the grants that people talk about. Typically, I've never seen a state or federal grant that doesn't require a match, and it's usually 50%. We talked about economic development. Without a robust road network, it's tough to have economic development. If we want higher wages, we want more industry here, we're going to need to have a robust road network. Sales tax is a user-based fee. He or she who spends the most pays the most. Now, if you go to Publix, it's not your groceries aren't taxed unless they're prepared items. Your pharmaceuticals aren't taxed unless, well, they're not taxed. If you want to see real congestion, go down to Riverview, Florida. It's a mess because they did not manage for growth and they did not manage to build their roads. And if you're not buying right of way now, it doesn't get any cheaper. For instance, you know, a lot of people, there was mention of 10 years or 4 years on a potential sales tax. If you do a 4-year term, you can't bond anything. By the time, let's say you want to widen 491, by the time you do the preliminary engineering, by the time you buy right away, 4 years is gone. So just at some point, we've got to think the money has to come. Where is it going to come from? Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Anyone else? All right, we're going to close open to the public.
Madam Chair?
Commissioner Davis.
You may want to handle this since you brought it up earlier, but to Mr. Ship's point, we actually were the first, pretty much the first county in line to ask to be doged. So
I said that earlier.
that's what I just said. You might want to say that because you said it
I
earlier.
said it earlier, yeah.
But say, I don't think he was in the audience, and
You can't talk from the audience.
I'm just saying maybe give credit where credit is due, that we actually embraced that and you made it sound like we hadn't embraced it. So, and to Bob's point, I believe I've heard you say this before as well, which I wholly agree with, is that Tallahassee will look at us perhaps more kindly if we are doing our part to raise funds where we need to. And if we're not, if we don't have a local option sales tax, then we as a community are not stepping up to help ourselves out of our own situation. So, correct?
It's a tool in the toolbox. I need to get one of those things that changes my voice into a man's voice when I talk, because I listen to what you guys regurgitate back as men, and I've said it already, so I'm just giving you. I've always been an advocate for a 1-cent sales tax. It's just it's another option that we have. And as Bob said earlier, it is a user tax. But I've always been I've always agreed with the fact that this is a long process. And I thought when we started this, I was of the opinion back then that we should have immediately gone out to a professional group that does this, that has the success of raising a sales tax. I feel like we're so far down the path now that I don't know. I don't know how. I'm confident that we can get it across the finish line, and I think it will make it, but I think there's a heavy lift, and I do think that we have to use professionals. It takes some money to get it done. There's no other county out there that I know of that's ever been successful that hasn't spent money with professionals to get it done. So I just don't think that we're in a position today to say how we want to do this. I think we've got to get some input, and whoever that is or ever how that process has to work. And Madam Attorney, you may give us some direction on, I know there's some legal issues with this, so if we want to proceed with getting some professional organization, whether it's the ones that Chairman Davis has brought forward or someone else, how does that work from a legal?
It's nothing that you can do from the dais,
okay,
sitting in your position as a commissioner.
Okay.
I don't know how I can be any more clear.
That, I love it. It's not muddy. It's clear as.
I can cite the statutes for you if you like.
Nope, that's perfectly fine. That is exactly what I wanted.
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Davis.
would it simply be appropriate for us to have some sort of consensus, and this question would be for Madam Attorney as well, that we hope that folks in the community will, no, you're shaking your head.
I would just implore you all to look at Florida Statute 104.31 and read what it says. You may not use your official authority or influence for the purpose of interfering with an election, et cetera, et cetera. So I would say that it's not even a discussion that y'all should have from the dais.
Okay.
I don't know. Okay.
Can we at least have Okay. We're just going to hope that folks in the community pick up the ball then.
I think that when y'all aren't sitting at the dais, convened in a board meeting, that you can have all kinds of discussions in the community.
Okay.
Are you happy?
If we're all on the same page, then I am.
Okay. All right, moving on. Veronica, do you have anything to report on outstanding commissioner items?
Yes, I have two that are on your sheet, and then I made 2 notes during the open to the public to give some updates on these other projects. Our offshore reef enhancement, the contractor is expected to begin construction. The date that I provided on the deadline was October 8th, but I think it's been pushed out just a couple of days due to conditions on the water. But as soon as he gets there to get deployed, it should just be a few months before the construction is complete. And the Fort Island Trail Park boat ramp expansion, that presentation was placed on today's agenda. For Betts Farm, there has been no update on a new PDC date. We are currently awaiting additional submissions from the applicant and a rescheduled PDC hearing. And then for Metro Forecasting, Mr. Howard was able to email Mr. Farmer and verify this, but they are currently finalizing the submodels as well as working on the 2025 update with all of the changes to the parcels since he put in the initial data. And we are looking at a presentation either late at the end of this year or possibly for early next year. They're currently working on the submodels for fire services, water resources, and parks and recreation.
Thank you.
Any questions?
None for me. Thank you, Veronica.
Thank you.
Next on our agenda is Advisory Board nomination appointments.
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Barrick.
I would like to nominate Eric Stawicki for the Beverly Hills Advisory Council.
I have a motion by Commissioner Barrick,
Second.
and I have a second by Commissioner Davis. Is there any public input? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Commissioner Davis, you have anything?
Yes, so through 4CF, Citrus County Community Charitable Foundation, we have had a lot of conversations which are a matter of public record, and this has goes back many, many years about sunsetting the hospital board. And they have now, this is a pretty complex topic, but I can drill it down into, they were created, I want to say 17 years ago. Commissioner Kennard, you may remember the date.
About 2011.
2011, so 14 years ago. They have now finished, they did that board was formed to deal with litigation involved with the lease. Every single aspect of their to-do list is now complete. And so they are, I believe, ready, willing, and able to voluntarily sunset. Representative Grow is on it. And what the plan would be is that if my colleagues, I'm just giving you a heads up to be thinking about it, that the county would accept the property into our assets. And so when the lease came up again, then we would be the ones that are negotiating to move forward with HCA, presumably, to continue with that lease. The cash holdings that they have remaining would then be transmitted to 4CF to continue advancing the health priorities for the community. So that's kind of a big thing on 4CF. And secondly, I sit on a NACO committee that talked about an executive order from President Trump, which is a little bit fluid still, I think, but essentially specific to the homelessness aspect. The ESG and COC funds will be imperiled to any municipality that is not prioritizing things that are recovery-based. So, for example, there are certain areas in the country that provide it's housing first, and they don't have any requirement to be clean and sober to be in that house, nor to get education, nor to get a job, nor to do any sort of self-recovery. And they will conversely, those funds will be prioritized to municipalities that are working on homelessness in a return to productivity way, which has Citrus Hope and Catholic Charities written all over it, because they are a low barrier entry, but you are expected to be clean and sober, have a case management plan, be working towards a reentry in a productive way. So that was something that I was really overjoyed to hear, because the more you don't expect, it becomes very enabling to just give money, give money, give money with no expectations. And the taxpayers deserve better than that on a national level. So that's a really good thing. I have been going to the jail reentry committee, and I was invited to go there by retired Sheriff Dossie. And that group is pulling together the numbers on what homelessness currently costs Citrus County taxpayers. And the dollar figure is stunning. If we can reduce that by half with a Citrus Hope shelter, there's going to be a lot of savings for taxpayers. So I'm just saying, I want to give you all a heads up to be thinking about this. When I have those numbers, we can also, Mr. Howard, I believe we can go to the financial planning firm that can, they told me on my interview with them that they can absolutely run those numbers to figure out what the savings would be.
We could work with them.
Yeah, so the jail did sort of a point, case in point, the jail did sort of a point in time survey. And I said, well, we can't go on one point in time survey. We need multiples to see what the average is. But at that point in time survey within the jail, 55 of the inmates were basically in jail because of homelessness, because of panhandling, because of trespassing, because of public camping, for whatever reason. And $87 a day times 55 times 365 days a year is something around $1.8 million. So these are very preliminary figures. We need some more point-in-time surveys. We need to gather all of that information and figure it out. But that's a pretty big savings there. So.
Those are big numbers.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Commissioner Kennard.
Yes, I feel like we are slowly progressing in this Pirates Cove initiative. The seller has had a real issue with the county's policy that the seller of the property signs the contract first, the purchase contract first, which is not typical outside of, I guess, government work or Citrus County purchases. In the private world, if a buyer decides that they're interested in a piece of property, you write up a contract, you sign it, and submit it to the real estate agent, and then the seller determines if they agree to the terms or not. But in this case, the seller's uncomfortable with that, is uncomfortable with her signing first, and she has asked that the county sign first. It doesn't change the terms of the contract. It doesn't add any money to the contract. It's simply, we're signing first. If she signs, then we move forward with the terms that the board's agreed to. If she doesn't sign, we're out nothing. Then the deal is off at that point. So I'm asking that, I'm going to make a motion that we approve K1, A, B, and C. Again, it's simply us signing first. If she doesn't sign, deal's off. The county's out nothing. If she does sign, then we move forward with the terms that this board has already agreed to.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Kennard and a second by Commissioner Davis. Unless somebody wants to speak, I'll open up for public comment. Seeing none, board members, do you have any comments? Commissioner Barrick?
All right, I know we've gone back and forth and back and forth. You get so many days, you get so many days. I'd like to know, where are we actually at the how many days that she still has left that she was supposed to sign it? Because I know we sent it to her and we said, okay, you have so many days to sign it, okay? And I also do not like being put on the spot and saying, we have to sign it first. We have the proper procedure that we follow as a county. And that's the normal procedure that the county follows every time. It's not something new, it's a county procedure. So why are we going out of our way to do this now and purchase this property if we decide we're gonna purchase it at all, or if she decides she's gonna sell it at all? So those are my questions to you.
Commissioner Barrick, I know you haven't liked this initiative from the start. This is simply trying to make the seller more comfortable with taking that contract to her attorney, to have her attorney take a look at it. And I am encouraged that she has continued negotiating with us, particularly on the price. There are folks out there who are willing to help get this across the line, but they want to see a signed contract first. And in this case, she wants the buyer to sign first, which is typically, I'm not going to sit here and debate it with you, which is typically the way real estate deals go.
Okay, so you're willing to do whatever you have to do to get Pirates Cove, and that's fine. I have no more to say.
I've always supported this motion, but frankly, I'm at my wit's end with this lady. I think we've done everything in good faith. I think you made the argument. I don't think it changes the thing. If she really had an appetite, she'd have signed it, sent it back. I'm just not going to support it at this time. If she wants the deal, then she can sign the contract, but I'm not in a position where I want us to sign it and move forward. I'll call the vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
Nay. So motion fails 2-0, or 2-3. Commissioner Barrick.
Nothing at this time.
Commissioner Finnegan.
Nothing, ma'am.
I want to just make a few comments on Commissioner Davis's points about homelessness and the jail reentry. If Mr. Howard, if you're going to be going along and doing and looking at numbers, I would also like to request that we start to look at all of the statutory requirements and how those all play in. I mean, you have the predisposition of juveniles, you have the inmate medical cost, you have Medicaid. Medicaid this year is over $3 million. I don't know what that means if you're bringing more people in. I'm not sure how that works. I'd like to know that. We have the assistance for burials and cremation, detention center, mental health. We have to give, I think it's over $1 million to, I would like a full financial analysis of what this looks like. I know that we have programs that we commit to over $5 million a year to try to keep people from being homeless, keeping them in their home, in their place. I just think if we're going to go down this, we need a full financial overlook to see what these costs can cost us. Because if we have people inside of our jail and that's a contract, we definitely should be looking at reentry. I know there's homelessness in there, but what is that service doing to get people back out into the community and having a job and having housing and getting these services like LifeStream and the other services that they need to transition back into society. That's all I have on that.
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Davis?
They are actually working on that. We heard from someone at the last committee meeting, which was great, with the jail reentry program, and I've been impressed with the assistant warden, Yolanda, her attitude towards trying to make sure that they don't come back for homelessness. So they've really tried, they're trying to be good partners with us on that. Separately, the Medicaid figure, I reached out to both hospitals. I've heard back from HCA. I said, I recognize that this is a spitball figure because you don't want it, one of the least tracked portions of our population is homeless, right? There's a lot of reasons that, HIPAA regulations, they can't ask that, I guess, et cetera. But HCA came back with 3 to 4% of indigent care is probably homelessness. Or they are homeless. So, because there's a lot of indigent care where folks can't pay, but they do actually have a poverty-stricken home that they call home. So, working on a lot of those different numbers, fire rescue, CCSO, they're all trying to quantify what homelessness costs them in time and so forth.
Commissioner Barrick.
There's one thing I wanted to add. Prior to Commissioner Davis joining the committee, I was on the committee, and I had taught in the correctional facilities at county facilities. There is money for education, state money, federal money. There always has been. And those programs do have wraparound services. But then again, I was asked to step back because you were going to give a speech, and I said, fine. So anytime you're there, I don't go to a meeting. And it seems that, they've asked you to stay, so that's fine. I have no problem with that because I have worked in those situations for years. And there is federal and state money for all of the wraparound services, and all the things that you're trying to do are there. They just have to follow the rail or brick road, and they'll be right down the road with it.
Thank you.
Ms. Lynn?
Yes, thank you, ma'am. The first item is for information purposes only. This relates to a condemnation action, FDOT, and there was a lien on the property, or excuse me, there were no fines. Dale Scott, on our behalf, filed that pleading. I just wanted to let you all know that condemnation action is proceeding out there on, I'm sorry, I'm forgetting the name of the road, 490. Anyway, the information is there for you. The second one is, it is the end, if you will, of our litigation with SwiftMud relating to the Chazawitzka boat ramp, not the campground, but the boat ramp. We have completed our deed to them. They have completed their deed to us. And now this is the final agenda item for the county to accept the deed from SwiftMud and then to direct the clerk to file those deeds sequentially so that they are found in the public records, one right after the other. So the first A is to accept the quitclaim deed, and B, authorize the clerk to sequentially record the deed in the quitclaim deed. And that will be the end of our litigation. Hallelujah. Over the boat ramp.
Motion to approve O2, A and B.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Davis, a second by Commissioner Finnegan. Is there any public input? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
I have nothing further. Thank you.
All right. All right, we're going to open up to our last open to the public. Anyone wishing to address the board, please come forward. All right, well, I don't have to read me, so we are adjourned. Wow.